This is episode 19 of Objectively Biased. This is Wilder Adams alongside John Tortorelli and River Brown. And guys, we are in the biggest stretch of the NBA season right now. March Madness next week as well. So, all right, I'm going to start out with John right now because among us, he's the only one whose team is down bad right now. So, John, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great about some good quality hoops now. If you're referring to my Nuggets, who last night lost at the hand of a Jordan Poole dagger from 30-plus feet, that was gut-wrenching. There's still a Nugget team that, in one of the most important parts of the year, we're in March, the middle of March, is barely beating the Lakers B team. They're a team that looks completely helpless in the defensive end, and Nikola Jokic himself is even struggling a little bit. Alex Sar last night hung up 34 points on him, so I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to talking some ball with you guys, but not looking forward to watching my Nuggets.
Aaron Gordon might play tomorrow. That should give you some excitement.
He could barely beat the Lakers with him.
He didn't. Oh, right, he did play. He didn't play against the Wizards. Yeah, big game tomorrow. For my Warriors, you guys at this point, any game is a big game. But big game for my Warriors, man. You know they've been able to handle business, but they haven't played the cleanest of competition. You know, they played the Knicks with Brunson, no Cat. Then the Knicks with Cat, no Brunson. You know, there's been a lot of injuries to these teams, but you got to win these games. You know, you got to, especially with the way the West is stacking up. You got 2, 3, 4 in a hunt, and then you got 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, 5, 6, 7 in a hunt. 7, 8. No, yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a hunt. Like right now, the conference could shake up, and it's like 15 games left. So anything can happen. You know, right now Minnesota's on a win streak, Golden State's on a win streak. You know, Memphis just lost. The Lakers are on a losing streak. Denver just lost. You can't afford too many losses at this moment because you want to secure a good spot. And for my Golden State, I'm excited to play most of those teams up in front of us, except maybe a few here and there. But I really want Denver in the first round, man. Like, I really, really want Denver with the way that defense looks, man.
I need you guys tomorrow, John, to take down the Warriors. We're like the Minnesota. We can't lose all of a sudden, and then the one time when we can start looking unstoppable, Golden State goes 15-2 with Jimmy Butler. It's like we just can't capture any ground right now. But hey, on the bright side, I mean the Lakers might slip out with the way they're looking right now and the injuries piling up. So we're going to talk about the Western Conference, by the way, the really tight landscape that it's turning out to be. And overall in this show, we're actually going to start with an NBA mock draft, going into some of the, March Madness stuff as soon as next week. We're going to talk about the biggest threat to Oklahoma City, kind of highlighting the depth, the parity of the Western Conference. Yep. And we're going to continue our brand new series last week, which will be very interesting to see River in this. Would you let this player date your sister? I'm curious to see his reactions. And we're finally going to highlight some top 10 players under 25 to build around because Riv kept roasting us about our early season ranking of that list, particularly Cade Cunningham's rankings. And many Absolutely. And how many superstars are there? So that's the theme of the show. Yeah.
Do you guys have the tiebreaker over the Lakers?
Do we? That's a good question. I don't think we do.
Oh, so you can't tie with them. Oh.
No.
Because I know we have the tiebreaker over you guys. So you guys need to have like a game or two ahead of us and the Lakers. Well, I don't know if you guys have the tiebreaker with the Lakers. What about Houston?
Houston, we beat them 3 times. We have the tiebreaker over Houston. I can't remember if we beat the Lakers once or twice. I know we got killed by them last game. We definitely don't. We lost the first game and we lost the last game. So we don't against the Lakers. We don't against the Warriors. Everybody behind us we do, I believe. And then
you beat the Clippers like twice.
I think we destroyed them every game. And then for some reason we own Denver. So I don't think we're catching up to them. But, I mean, we beat them by like 29 2 games ago. Then this game beat them by 20. So, man, John, I want you guys in the first round too. I'm not going to lie. So
everybody wants us in the first round. We're like the worst. We're like one of those high school teams where everyone matched up their homecoming night against them, as everyone wants to play them in that big game. Anyways, the T-Wolves this year split with the Lakers 2-2. So the tiebreaker would go to better winning for the division.
I think the last 2 times they beat you guys. That's probably why it's more memorable. I think.
It was the first game of the year. They killed us in Los Angeles, and in the last game, I just think
he got ejected that game, the last one, right?
Yeah, he got it. Oh my gosh, man! Ant's got a problem with refs, but I was watching the game the other day, and there was this little thing where Luka like goes like, "What the f, man?" to the ref, and he goes, "F is your problem. F you." He yelled the f word at the ref 3 times. Did he get 1 tech? And Ant slips and goes WTF, and he gets suspended. And I'm just like, man, I don't want the Lakers first round, man, because I know it's 8v5, man. It's the Lakers plus the Zebras against the Timberwolves, and I don't want that. So I don't want the Lakers, man. I'm actually terrified of the Lakers because I know it's going to be like a plus 20 advantage a game on the free throw line. I think they shot like 40 free throws against us one game this year. I don't want that. Stupid.
I have a hot take about Minnesota that you might like later, Wilder. You might like it.
Ooh.
You might like it.
Jaden McDaniels?
No. But he's part of it because he's on the team.
Jaden playing well.
Ever since that redraft, ever since he's been cooking, man. I think he needed that. I think he needed that redraft video.
James, where did you take him? Do you remember?
I don't think
we took him 10.
What's 10?
It was 10, yeah. So we had like Devin Vassell and Peyton Pritchard in front.
Oh, we took that screams John pick Peyton Pritchard.
I did not take Peyton Pritchard.
I had no way I did.
I took Quickly over Denny for the Hawks, and that was a bad pick. Or maybe it was the other way around.
Taking Quickly over Denny is nuts. Neither here.
Ironically, I think it was me who took Pritchard on Detroit. I think it was, yeah. So ironically, yeah. But mainly it's because I can't let my glorious king play in Detroit at that time period. So Peyton Pritchard is like 23, so he would be fine there. But
that was the Sadiq Bey pick, right, for Detroit?
That was Killian Hayes.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. That pick stings.
Do you guys remember the Ringer when they had him number 1 on their draft board that year?
No cap. I was really high on Killian that offseason. Like when he draft. Yeah. Like
Spin game, big Killian Hayes fan over here. Sheesh.
Yeah, bro.
The Hayes phase, man. It killed the NBA media.
Nothing about just those big guards that play defense really moved me. Like I was
that can't shoot, dribble, or play through contact.
Well, he could dribble before. I don't know.
Cheap.
Like I was high on
Could not dribble with his right hand.
Nah, Dyson I was big on too. So finally he's looking good. It took some time, but we got here. But yeah, Killian, plus his aura, man. Killian had some real stout aura. So
he had no aura. Aura.
Overseas, he had some aura, bro. I was like, Killian Hayes, I'm in. I'm in. Fuck it.
He's got a cool name. He's got a cool name.
He has one of the biggest fan clubs for bad player, tons of love. Like there was a tweet by Bull World years ago, and maybe we should cut this part out the show, where he tweeted, Killian Hayes OnlyFans would feed generations. And this tweet was deleted.
You don't have to cut it out, bro. I've said so much worse on YouTube. You're so good.
Bro, a Bull fan page praising Killian Hayes. I think that guy has a type.
Yeah.
Biggest fan is Shaq. So his fan base is up.
Yeah, Bull. I mean, Bull's been playing kind of well, but it's a theme of Bull too. I mean, your season's falling apart. Let's get Bull to throw stats and fun at you. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it's time to talk about our 2025 NBA mock draft. Hey, John, do you want to get the graph up?
I can pull it up. You guys talk for like 30 seconds while I do that.
What are we going to talk about? Let's talk about
basketball.
Let's talk about. I'm gonna just say let's talk about for 30 seconds. Let's talk about
Cooper Flagg got hurt.
He's playing. They say he's coming back.
So Cooper Flagg is coming back, man. So
why do you say curious. You don't say flag, you say flag.
I say
so. As you guys can see, this was our most recent mock draft done, if I'd imagine, a month ago. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Jakusionis.
Yeah, we all say flag. You say flag. You don't say flag.
Who cares, honestly? I'm going to say flag till the day I die.
Here we go, man.
Flag.
Casp in the top 3. He's not going to be in the top 3 again today. I promise you.
Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not.
With the first overall pick, Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz. Chance to get themselves a blue chip franchise player. This is going to be an exciting mock draft today.
Okay, who's got number 1?
Rick, I'll let you get the honor today.
I feel like this was such a great accomplishment to get the honor, or objectively biased to get the number 1 pick in the draft. And now I'm going to put myself in Danny Ainge's shoes. Danny Ainge, I want to talk about this for a little bit. Not talk about it, but I want to say it for a little bit. This rebuild of Utah is extremely weird because you have a bunch of players on your roster that you should have moved off from, could have moved off them, and you're kind of just keeping them there. I thought keeping Laurie and giving him that shit ton of money was weird, especially with his age. He's kind of in his prime. You kind of wanted to maximize him, and now he hasn't been playing really well this year, sitting at $40 million. I don't know if he'll have the same market like he did last summer before the money. He was sitting on a sweet, nice $18 million deal. He was coming off 25 points per game. He was pretty much efficient from everywhere on the floor. I thought that would have been the time, like, all right, let's see what we can get. We could probably get a shit ton for him. And then you decided to give him all that money, and you can't trade him this year because of the money you gave him. You have Jordan Clarkson, who's not having his best year. Colin Sexton's been really good. You should have been moved off of him. John Collins is playing really well this year. And outside of Kyle Flip, you don't have a player that's been playing well. Bryce hasn't been playing well. Cody Williams, not really. Actually, I think he's hurt. Taylor Hendricks is out for the year. Isaiah Collier is like up and down. Keontae George is also really up and down, more down than up. But this is where it starts over. This is where we really decide how Utah looks. Now, John, bring that board back up. With the first pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz will be selecting Cooper motherfucking Flag. I mean, it's obvious he's going to Utah. It's almost in destiny that he's going to Utah. This man just fits the Utah demographic. He's just a do-it-all wing for you. Listen, he's going to struggle between what he wants to play between the 3 and the 4. It depends on how his size fills out. But in terms of a playmaker and a connected passer, he's really good. He's been great for Duke in just terms of the scoring department, the playmaking department, the defensive versatility, the rebounding. He's been the best freshman in the country. He's been arguably the best player in the country. And you're getting a do-it-all wing, kind of a guy who gives you shades of AK-47, but gives you shades of a guy who can be a transcendent all-around player. So give me Cooper Flag for Utah.
My Cooper Flag comp right now is?
Who?
Scottie Pippen.
Ooh.
That's the player. That's who I see the most.
Same exact thing.
He reminds me of Scottie Pippen. He's a modern wing. Obviously, Scottie was ahead of his time. He's not quite like the creative separator a guy like Tatum was in college or Ingram or somebody like that. But in terms of just this special 6'8", 6'9" defensive wing who can get to the rim, create some space, all around playmaking, shot making. I think that's like a really good high end upside for Flag. I think he's amazing.
He screams Jabari Parker to me on the offensive end. Like that's who he screams to me. Like Jabari Parker, a guy who's a tweener, a guy who loves to get in the mid range, has good ball handling to get separation, good enough speed to get past bigs, has the size to get over smaller guys. And then defensively, like I mentioned, he's like a hybrid of Jabari AK-47 to me. I could see Scottie Pippen too for sure. I don't know if he'll have the same ball handling because, like you mentioned, Scottie was kind of ahead of his time in terms of just being that do-it-all wing. But yeah, Jabari Parker. Like people are going to look at that and think, oh, Jabari was a bum. People don't remember pre-injury Jabari Parker, man, especially coming out of Duke. Like even before Duke, like Jabari was a dude. So that's who he reminds me of.
That was Paul Pierce after Paul Pierce until got messed up. Yeah.
It was unfortunate.
Okay, so the second overall pick in this draft for me is quite easy. With the second overall pick, the Washington Wizards will take Dylan Harper from Rutgers. So Harper started guns blazing starting the year. He was incredible. And then the buzz started to drain a little bit because of the injuries he was dealing with, and Rutgers just didn't have a great team around him. But late in the season, when he got healthy, we started to see that rise again. And Dylan Harper, to me, is I think he's the safest bet outside of Cooper Flag to be a superstar in this draft with the way he can get to the rim, with his space creation, with his feel, with his frame, the experience he has. He is so complete as a player. Number one talent, and I think Dylan Harper is the best number 2 prospect we've had maybe in a decade in a draft. He is that good. And Washington, with all those defensive wings and
Chet,
I think Harper goes number 1 in 22.
Over Chet and Bon Carroll?
Yeah, I would take him number one.
Woo-hoo!
I'm willing to say that too.
Okay.
I mean, you see what Shea's doing and you see what Cade's doing, and I see a little blend of those two in Dylan Harper. I just do.
Just asking.
So I just think the floor is really high here, and I think the ceiling is really high, and he's a more efficient creator than Paolo, and I think his frame will translate almost certainly into the NBA. So I think Dylan Harper would be the Wizards franchise player right away, and to complement Alex Sarr and what they're doing with like Koulibaly and some of those other young wings.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with James. When you look at the history of second overall picks, the fact you're putting up with a guy like Chet, who is probably 1 or 2 on that list, it does go to show just how stacked this cream of the crop of this year's class is. Now, the third overall pick, the Charlotte Hornets are a team that finds themselves in muddy waters. Their 3 best players are all young but have injury questions. And this team needs defense. They need some integrity on both ends.
John.
Now I'm going to go here with what's up.
Hold on, just quickly. Just quick. I want to ask both of you.
Riv's just pausing the entire game.
You good?
All right.
Go for it.
All right, you're good.
Because both of you are on the same page, so it's perfect that I get to ask both of you a question. So you said you think Dylan goes 1 in 2022. Where does he go in 2021 with Cade, Mobley, and Scotty at 3 of the top 4? Where would he go?
2.
I would have
over Mobley.
Well, they took Jalen Green 2.
Yeah, you see how I ignored him, and I just said 3 of the top 4 picks. Yeah, I ignored him.
Given how high I was on Evan Mobley, I was even more optimistic on him defensively as a player than Chet. I would say that Mobley would go above Dylan, but I would be tempted to take Dylan above Chet. But I also thought that Evan Mobley coming out the draft was basically Kevin Garnett reincarnated. I'm probably the highest Evan Mobley enthusiast in the world, so I would have Mobley above Dylan, but I was a little bit lower on Chet. Not necessarily because, like, I believe Chet offensively is better than Mobley, but defensively, Mobley was such a better and more impactful perimeter defender that I would have Mobley 1, Harper 2, then Scotty Barnes and the Chets kind of right behind Dylan Harper personally.
Okay. That's all I want.
I would have taken Harper 2 in that draft still.
So
mainly because I was slightly too low on Mobley in the draft, not because I didn't love his game. I just wondered if he had the wiring to be like a true number 1. I thought Mobley coming in would be a fantastic number 2, a great defensive anchor. And I was just, can Mobley be a number 1? And I still question that. But Mobley obviously has turned out to be a fantastic number 2 at 23 years old on a contending team. So Mobley has lived up to all of his expectation. But with how I evaluated Harper right now relative to how I evaluated Mobley coming in, I would have taken Harper number 2 still. So I'm a big Harper guy, man. I'm above, I would say, the mean in terms of how people view Harper. And I was still really high on Mobley. I was just slightly under probably the mean, though.
Fair enough. So that's kind of the inverse. Now, back to this year's mock draft. The Charlotte Hornets, for me, are going to have a pretty comfortable archetype they're looking for. And that search is going to end with VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor being taken here with the 3rd overall pick, sliding in between Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. To me, this pick reminds me a lot of a guy like Victor Oladipo, who's going to come in and his defensive repertoire early on is going to get him on the floor. But as the years go on, you're hoping that he develops more of that 3-point shot. This year's making 34% of them. Had some inefficient games recently, I understand. But I don't look at a guy behind him like Ace Bailey and believe that he's a better fit for what Charlotte needs to get their rebuild off the fast track. They need to start winning some games. And I believe that Edgecombe's potential and day 1 impact, maybe it could be reminiscent of a Tari Eason. Not the same archetype, not the same exact player, but just that type of spark, that energy boost that Charlotte desperately needs.
I would love to get the board up, John, so I can No, you're good. You're good, broski. You're good. We're here. We're always here. 4th pick, the New Orleans Pelicans. A very weird team in the sense of they have Zion, who's playing at a high level right now, playing like arguably a top 15, top 20 player in the NBA. But he's very, very weird to build around in the sense of his skills and his play style. I love Trey Murphy's game. I love Herb Jones when he's healthy as a defensive player. You know, he's one of the 3 best perimeter defenders in the world. Yves Missi is a really good center. I think he'll be fine. You have a guard situation. I don't think Ace Bailey makes sense here because you already have Trey, you already have Herb, and we don't know. Zion's playing well, but we don't know if New Orleans is tied to him long term. We don't.
Yeah.
That's still up in the air. But I'm going reach. I don't even want to say reach because this is how I feel. Scroll down there, Johnny boy. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, I think we might be on the
There we go.
Here.
I'm going Jeremiah Fears here with this pick.
Oh!
I am going Jeremiah Fears here with this pick, man. This is a guy, I love his game. I really do. This is one of the smoothest point guards in the draft for me. This is the best point guard outside of Dylan because I think Dylan's like a combo guard. We don't know what he is yet. But Jeremiah Fears, I love his game in terms of the smoothness, the way he can get to his spot, the pull-up mid-range, the way he can attack the rim. The three-point shot definitely needs work. But this is a player who I think he may not be the fourth best player in the class. He may not be the third best player. But in a situation where you need a point guard, I think Jeremiah Fears is going to be your guy behind Dylan Harper. I really do love his game. I think what he's done at Oklahoma in terms of building this team into a really good, competent team, I think he's been able to do that on the shoulders of him. And, 6'4", good size. He has that, I don't want to say he's SGA-like, but he has that SGA in him where he can get to his spot no matter what. He has to pull up to his game. He has the smoothness, the silkness. I love Jeremiah, man. So for me, I think the Pelicans, DeJounte Murray is an up in the air. I think CJ McCollum is reaching the end of his career. Give me Jeremiah Fears here with the fourth pick.
I have a
like
question.
that pick.
Riv, I have a question.
Hey, bro.
So I find this interesting because there's another guard on my mind who I didn't see in the top 12, who I'm going to talk about very soon.
Mm-hmm.
But who is Ace Bailey the guy in this draft who is most likely to slip at this point in time?
It's either Ace or Casp.
Okay.
I think Igor has slipped months ago. But people still have him in the lottery. I think a right team with the right development team will be fine picking him. A team that's not ready to compete and nothing like that. I think a team with 2 lottery picks, like a team like the Spurs, I can see grabbing him with their second lottery pick just to develop him. Ace Bailey is a guy I think will slip because he is like Igor in the sense of he needs right development. He has traits, but he also has flaws. And I think the flaws this year have outweighed the traits, but the traits are really intriguing, and he's a guy that could slip if certain teams are going to go best player available. Then I can see him falling.
I see a gap between VJ and Ace Bailey right now. That's why I agreed with John's pick. I honestly think VJ has a chance. Oladipo's a good comp.
I thought people were low on VJ. I thought people fell off on VJ, and I'm like, dude, he's not a college player. Like the way his game is styled more for the NBA. You have to let these guys kind of grow into their roles. And he started to figure it out late. He started to get some mid-season handle work that started to improve. His decision-making started to improve. And like John mentioned, the defensive tenacity is there when the effort is there. Like he really gives you bulldog defense when he's super locked in. He's really athletic. An underrated thing for him, too, is he likes to crash the boards. And I think that's really dope for a team like Charlotte who just needs everything. That's a young player. Just need everything. So you slot him in with LaMelo and B. Miller. That's dope. I also don't hate Ace to Charlotte if they can develop. I wouldn't have hated it because now you have 6'7", 6'8", 6'8" right now. Well, I don't even know. B. Miller's probably like 6'7". But you know what I'm saying. 6'7", 6'7", 6'8", 1, 2, 3. But I don't trust Charlotte to develop. So
yeah. Moving on to the Brooklyn Nets.
They can do it
on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, man. I have an agenda that I want to give right now, but I just hate the team for him right now. So I'm sort of in a weird spot. Hey, John, do you want to trade picks?
Sure. Do you want the 6th overall selection? Next up's the 76ers.
Okay, never mind. I hate that team for this player too. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep this player quiet then. With the 5th overall pick, the Brooklyn Nets will still take Ace Bailey.
Okay. This is interesting. You went mute.
You did.
Love that for you.
Hate to see it.
Hate to see it, but love it for you. Hate to see it, but
good run.
He's back. Congratulations, you guys. The 4 best seconds of the show where my mouth is shut. So congratulations. But Now I'm going to go back to talking a lot. All right, so Ace Bailey in Brooklyn. So the reason why I like this fit, I think they're missing a high-level long-term wing on that team still. I really like what they have with like a Cam Thomas. I like Nick Claxton. They have some pieces that are kind of developing, and they could use either a big guard because Cam Thomas, when you have a player like Cam Thomas, I think you either need a long guard or a lot of wing help around him. And I think Ace Bailey under that ecosystem could be very beneficial. Obviously, he's close to home in Brooklyn, but he's also he's got these traits that I think Brooklyn has the time to develop him. And I really like their coaching right now. So you have a good coach for him. You have time. You have assets. This is a home run swing for Brooklyn. And it probably won't pay off year one, but 2-3 years down the road, it really could.
Yeah, I like that pick, pairing him alongside Cam Johnson, who's very quietly putting up a uber efficient 19 a game this year. You put those two shooters on the floor, you can do a lot of things. Now, I don't mean to be that guy, but he ain't from Jersey, so it's not too close to home. He's from Georgia. But anyways.
Rutgers. I was
Fair
thinking
enough.
Rutgers.
I knew what you were thinking.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, he ain't no Dylan Harper, a Jersey boy. Now, at the 6th overall pick, the Philadelphia 76ers, we're targeting Ace Bailey here as low-key the Paul George successor, if I'm being quite honest with you. So you got a lot in the backcourt. We don't have a lot on the wings. And unfortunately, when you look at the boards, all guards. All guards.
Scroll down, buddy.
And you might think I am crazy, but I'm going Colin Murray-Boyles here for the 76ers with the 6th overall pick.
I love it.
Some might think it's a reach, but I'm getting myself that toolsy, very talented wing to come in and be that pair alongside Embiid. I think they'd be a really good fit together. And with the way that he's developed this year at South Carolina, I think this is the best upside play and the best fit here for Philadelphia.
Yo, CMB is the best defender in this class. I'm pretty much stamping that. Him and Flag are 1 and 2. I think Colin, his coming in this year, it was a lot of doubt on his game, especially with the way he can improve. But for me, he's walked himself into a top 10 pick. If Zion wasn't there, I would have took him with the Pels pick. But I don't know what they're gonna do with Zion. CMB is a dope guy, and even you have a guy who, if Embiid is out, can anchor your defense. I think he can really do that. He is a little bit undersized, but the recovery speed he has, the defensive tools, the defensive IQ is there. I mean, he's just an elite defender. Now, John, pull up the board. It's my turn. Come on,
Gotcha,
man.
boss.
I want to add one thing about Colin, too. I think his offensive upside is really underrated, too, because he has this body control and this power and growing on-ball ability that's honestly very reminiscent to a young Julius Randle in terms of the size, the way they move. I think Murray-Boyle's starting to extend his range a little more. Not a great shooter, but he can hit a pull-up midi. I think he could hit a Julius Randle development curve on offense if he puts it together.
Yeah, this team is interesting, man. You got Emmanuel Quickly getting $30 million. You got RJ Barrett getting 28. You just signed Brandon Ingram to get his low 38, 40 million. Then you have Scotty Barnes on his 38 million. You have Jakob Poeltl on 18 million. So you kind of have a starting five that you're going to run next year. So this guy coming in is going to be about simply development. This is a guy that's going to come in and they're going to work this guy from the ground up. And this is why when people, and I be telling people when you draft, like when you scouting, it's not always about who the best player is. A lot of these teams go by who they think long term can be great. A lot of these teams are looking at guys who they can stash and be elite. And outside of the top 5, it's really about just, all right, who can work for my future, who can give me the best fit. It's a bunch of varieties. I'm looking at Igor as a potential pick here. I do think he should stay. I'm not picking him. John. I'm not picking him. I said, I'm looking at him.
Masai Ujiri can't help himself. He's ready to go.
Yo, he can't. And that's why I be telling people, like, Toronto just screams like the place where Igor is going to be. I don't know why. But I think I'm going to go with Kaman Malik here. I think he is the real Toronto guy that's going to come here. And it's not because Messiah has ties overseas. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is Jakob Poeltl is a player who I think is really good. I think he provides you a lot on defense. I think they're going to go for a project here because they have so much money tied to that starting five. You're going to have to play the starting five throughout the next year. And Toronto has always been a team that always wants to remain competitive. No matter who's out there, they always want to remain in the hunt. And I think for Kaman, this is a good first year to kind of work on them tools, work on them raw attributes, and he can do it in Toronto with not having too much pressure.
I love Malwalk. I always get his name wrong too. So sorry, guys. But I love his talent. I think he's got more floor spacing potential than he gets credit for. He's got soft hands. He has a good looking shot, makes his free throws. And when you watched his tape in the NBA Academy in Africa, he looked amazing in terms of flashes as a shooter. So I think he's a great upside swing for Toronto, and just the length in that front court between Scotty and Malwalk. I love that long-term pairing.
Now we got the Portland Trailblazers here, number 8.
This one's difficult.
It is difficult.
How do you,
John, who has pick 9?
That would be the Chicago Bulls.
Okay, can we officially switch picks here for my agenda?
You have to give me your package in return.
Okay. Oh, we're doing mock trades. I'm saying you pick for this team.
I know.
Oh, he meant that.
Yep. I'll be
really
nice, but it's going to
Chicago
cost you a protected first-round pick in 5 years. So
Timberwolves pick, because we have none of those.
No. Bulls. Anyways, Bulls are getting it. Doing them a favor, Riv. Forgot they're not your team anymore. Anyways, 8th overall pick, the Portland Trailblazers also find themselves in a similar spot to the Raptors, where they've established that starting 5 for the most part. Tamani Kamara, Benny Avia, Donovan Clinton. You got your talented young guards. And I'm leaning here, Con Knuppel. Am I crazy?
No.
Okay, Con Knuppel it is. I was looking for him. I thought he was taken for a second. I believe this is the best complementary player for a team that needs a little bit more shooting, a little bit more secondary scoring, and just a good amount of size here. So Con Knuppel at number 8 raised his draft stock a little bit recently, and I am really impressed with how well he can kind of fit in and kind of scale up his game when needed.
I like that pick.
He's a very interesting case because I personally don't see star upside or anything like that, but not every top 8 pick needs to. But he's so versatile. He's got such a good feel. The shot has been money in the later stretch of the year. He can defend, play make. Wish he had a quicker first step and things like that, but he's also very low to the ground as an athlete. But he knows how to play. Sneaky athletic. I'm just kidding.
Plays the game the right way.
He plays the game the right way.
Yep.
First guy in, last guy out.
Yeah.
For a future series, and the type of guy you let date your daughter, right? Like,
could be,
or date your sister for our series. But no, he's really good, and he's going to be a good NBA player. This is all I got to say.
Getting interesting.
Okay, pick 9. You know what? Okay, scroll down. Keep scrolling.
Here you go.
Okay, higher, a little higher. This is the shocker of the day. I am going to take at number 9 for the Bulls, Jace Richardson from Michigan State.
I had a feeling he was going there, Riv. I read his mind.
Okay, Jace is really good.
I think most underrated prospect in this year's draft. I just want to load up for you guys. I'm going to load up tankathon.com, okay? And I'm just going to show you this graphic right here. Wait, if the screen lets me.
A little bit more. Yep. He only has one weakness.
Okay.
Slight weakness, rebounding.
Don't really care for guards to rebound, or that'd be their weakness, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Big fat lever guy, though.
I wish he was a little taller. I wish he was a little taller and things like that, but he has really started to ascend lately with opportunity after dropping 29 against Oregon. And when I watch him, he's got a really tight handle, talented space creator, tough shot maker. Despite not being the biggest, strongest guy, he is so quick, plays through physicality well, takes care of the basketball, a really tough-nosed defender. And I just look at him and I'm like, is there a world this is the Donovan Mitchell of the draft and nobody talks about him until the last second, and then he goes into the NBA and it's like, wait, is this an all-star that nobody paid attention to because he didn't get opportunity right away? Because when he gets it, he's efficient. He could drop 30. He can score from all three levels. I mean, he's a guy I would have considered taking top 5. I really like his game. And to me, he just passes the eye test. So I'm a big fan. I think Chicago, you can play him at the 1 or the 2. So I like it.
There we go. Cleveland is down 1 right now. It is.
Damn, they blew up a 13-point lead.
Yeah, it's getting gritty, man. All right, let's see who's off the board so far. Let's look at the board real quick. Sitting at 10. We got seen. Okay. I'm liking it so far. I'm liking it so far. I'm at the Spurs. Devin Vassell's there. Stephon Castle's there. Wemby's there. They just picked up Fox. Jeremy Sohan is there. This for me is fit because they have so much here. This is fit. I'm gonna go. Damn, this is tough.
Mahmoud Kalashvili's there.
This is tough. Scroll down a little bit. This is super tough. Spurs is tough. Go back up. I don't think Liam McNeely goes top 10.
No.
I'm going Trey Johnson here.
Good pick.
Trey Johnson. I think the Spurs take Trey Johnson. I think, this is an instant bucket off the bench. The guy who mid-range loves the mid-range, can go to the rim. And for a team like San Antonio, they kind of already have their starting 5 geared up. It's going to be Fox, it's going to be Castle, Devin Vassell, Sohan, Wemby, and whatever money they have to play with in the offseason to bring in some vets. So I don't mind Trey Johnson going here.
It's an interesting pick because he reminds me a lot of Devin Vassell, who is sitting behind. But at the end of the day, it is the best player on the board to me. So not a bad way for the Spurs to stockpile more talent. Your 11th overall pick, James. I'm going to like this to you, even though I can technically take it for myself.
Okay, we'll just switch it back. I just wanted to take Jace. I would have considered taking him 5 for Brooklyn, but I just didn't like him next to Cam Thomas that much.
Right.
Number 11, interesting pick. I think their front court is set with Bam and Kel'el Ware now. Mm-hmm. I think they can use another guard. I still like Yakosionis. So I'm just going to take him. I'm going to take Kasper's Yakosionis. His name sounds like a Harry Potter spell, which I like most about him. Mm-hmm. But he is somebody who had a case to go top 4 a month ago, and then he just forgot how to shoot. And he is turning the ball over left and right, and he kind of had his stock fall off. But I still believe he's a better shooter than his stats show. And I still believe that the size and the playmaking and feel have a lot of intrigue. And I think in Miami, getting another big guard, they don't really have a long-term point guard solution right now. It's Davion Mitchell right now. They could do better than that. So I just think taking a bet on a big guard who played really well for the first 2/3 of the season is a good bet.
I like him in Miami, a team that you trust to develop talent and shooters as well, because you've seen a lot of guys leave there and then their shot immediately falls off a cliff. Josh Richardson, Gabe Vincent. Anyways, 12th overall pick, we have the Houston Rockets by way of Phoenix. Houston doesn't really need anything in particular, but I would target rim protection for this team to make what is already an elite defense even better, which leads me to one of these two. Scroll down the board a little bit.
Where it gets hard.
No, I'm not going to go him yet.
John, who are you taking?
The selection for me is going to be Derek Queen out of Maryland. Gain yourself a backup behind Alperen Şengün. And I believe that for Houston here, you don't have any one need, but adding a little bit in the front line is probably the best way to go.
It's like the Spider-Man meme between Şengün and Derek Queen pointing at each other because they play like the exact same way. So that's a very interesting backcourt compliment to Alperen Şengün. 48 minutes of it.
Derek Queen, man. Angel Reese called him Baby Joker last night. Or was that last night? 2 nights ago. Yeah,
Angel Reese did?
Yeah, she tweeted
Interesting.
it. Yeah, she tweeted it.
He had a huge
Would
game
you
the
guys
other day.
replace Noel there instead?
Nah,
He fits better.
Houston's weird. I don't think they'll have that pick this summer. I think that's going right back to the Suns. So,
Fair.
if I'm the Suns, I don't mind Derek Queen.
No,
Yeah,
not at all. That'd be the best
I
play.
agree.
Yeah, I don't mind Derek Queen. That's why. So, because it'd be so tough to do these mocks without trades. I truly believe Houston is trading that pick and they're getting Kevin Durant this summer. No matter how the playoffs go for them, I think they need that go-to guy. I think they're not far off in terms of being a Western Conference Finals team. And I think Kevin Durant can definitely fill that void for them. And they won't have to give up much. They can, accept Fred's $44 million team option. They can give him Reed Shepherd, which I think they're fine with. Give him all for Kevin Durant. Give him maybe one more young player, and then give him like 2 first-round picks that are Phoenix's, and then you have yourself Kevin Durant.
Where would Houston rank in the West if they landed Kevin Durant, do you think?
That's a tough question because how does Amen? It really all depends on them getting Kevin Durant, plus how does Amen, Jalen Green, Sengun look in the playoffs, and Jamari Smith and Tari Eason. And then, of course, I think we all can expect most of them to get better by next year because we've seen improvements from Tari this season. We've seen improvements in spurts from Jabari. And then we've seen Amen's ascension this year. So this summer we can expect that. But I think if they get Kevin Durant, like just off right now thoughts, top 4 team in the West. Still, right now, I think regular season wise, you think that, but in terms of just competing, I think they're probably like top 4, top 5. The West's so tough.
West is really tough. Let me give you these teams in the Western Conference. If the Rockets acquired Kevin Durant this summer, where would they rank in the Western Conference? First team up, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
OKC's better.
Obviously better.
Yeah, I agree.
Next team up, the Los Angeles Lakers.
It also depends on what they do.
Give me the Lakers.
Yeah, I'll take the Lakers. I'm not too confident, but I'll take the Lakers.
I'll take Houston. LeBron's going to be 41. I'm kind of into Max Kellerman cliff theory.
Right, yeah. I'm a Luka Doncic guy. I mean, I can't go up against them. Next team up, the Golden State Warriors.
Give me Houston.
Houston.
Really?
Yeah, it depends. Like, how does Steph look at 37, 38? How does Draymond look a year older? Jimmy Butler look a year older? Like, I trust their young players over our young players. So, yeah, I'll take
Ever since Draymond's comments about Cat, I'm just going to bet against Draymond every day the rest of his career.
Those were crazy comments, I'll be honest.
And then he responds and he goes like, "Well, the show must go on." I'm like, "You."
This is also John me
of-
being just like super high on Amen, like him in year 3. I'm putting all the chips on the table.
I hear that. What gives me reservation is I don't trust anyone because Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore I like as prospects, but they really aren't guys to look at to break out off the bench. So after you get past Kevin Durant and then Tari Eason, Şengün's disappointed me quite a bit this year. Jabari Smith is whatever. Fred VanVleet, that might be the matching salary. And Jalen Green, I like a decent bit, but I don't look at Jalen Green very highly. I'm not very high on the Rockets. If they get Kevin Durant, I would be really hesitant to put them in the top 4. Because, I mean, I would still have next team up, the Denver Nuggets. I would take the Denver Nuggets above them.
Okay. I would too.
I don't hate that. But that's another team who all their starting 5 is going to be a year older. Aaron Gordon's still dealing with nailing injuries. Jamal Murray has given you a good season, but there's still reservations. And their defense is putrid. You don't trust Peyton Watson on the offensive end. Christian Brown's a good player, but you also don't trust their bench. Like Denver, outside of them having the best player in the world, they have probably just as much question marks as Houston with no room to really get better.
Right, I hear that. The other team is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I would likely take them over the Rockets.
Yeah, they play really well. They like those matchups be really good games. What's troubled Houston in those matchups for me is they don't have a go-to scorer, and I think Kevin Durant instantly becomes that.
What does Minnesota do this summer? How do they keep Randall? How can they keep the whole band together? That's going to be the big question. Is there a world where Rudy Gobert is the odd man out now because Minnesota's defense has still been top 8 without him? I'm just going to always bet on my boy Anthony Edwards and my glorious King Jaden McDaniels. So I'll take Minnesota, but I have no idea actually how they're going to look, so I can't answer that.
That's fair. Part of why I'm lower too on the Rockets, Kevin Durant will also be turning 37, just like Steph. And again, I love their starting lineup, but once you get past that top 4, I really am not high on any of those guys in Houston as a complimentary support to KD. And I know that the Suns are a top 10 offense this year, but I do like Dylan Brooks next to KD, don't get me wrong, but I don't look at the Rockets making that move and convincingly being a top 4 team in the West. I still would have questions as to whether or not they get past the first round.
I can see that. Like I said, it really all depends on how the end of the year looks for this Houston team and like how going into the next season, what they like, what ideas do they give you come playoff time? Like, what have you seen in the playoffs where you can be like, all right, this is something he can work on in the summer and get better? Because I think Amen and Tari are going to come in next year better than what they were this year, you know. And I think Jabari Smith isn't the top 3 prospect, but he's a good, like, serviceable role player for them.
Yeah, he has to get shots, but he's serviceable. The move to me is Devin Booker. He's 8 years younger. He's more compatible with him, and I believe he would fit perfectly into that kind of 1A, 1B role with him. Because I like KD a lot. Don't get me wrong. He's still a top 10 player to me. But if I'm Houston, I'd rather put my chips in the guy who's still 28.
He's just having I think he might cost a little more because he's once again younger. He's on a longer deal, and he's having his worst season of his career.
That's fine. If he's having the worst year of his career, we'll give up less to get him.
I mean, Booker's still giving them like 26 and 6, and his efficiency's going up. I mean, I think Booker's a lot more expensive than KD just for all the reasons Riv mentioned. I mean, the youth and the productivity's still there. I mean,
he can strap up. He can lock up if you need him to. You saw him in the Olympics.
Situationally, yeah. But at the same time, I don't want to sound like that person. I mean, it's a little different. It's a little different locking up on teams that don't have NBA players versus teams that have NBA players.
Hey, respect some of those teams.
Some of those teams, yes. I'm saying still. I mean, Booker
up when you have 15 other All-NBA players.
Solid situational defender, but he was really good for the Olympics. I'm not going to lie. He's a good Olympic defender, but it's an entirely different game, you know? So let's continue the mock draft.
I almost forgot for a second. The Dallas Mavericks. This is a team that's been absolutely shot in both feet with all their injuries. I feel bad. Terrible.
Yeah, so this is me. Okay, this is me. Yep. Dallas Mavericks, a team that might forfeit some games at the end of the year because they just don't have enough players. Well, bring in a player that can play for you next year. Doesn't have any Dallas curse on them. You know, doesn't have any bad Dallas juju, can just come in and start fresh. I look at the Dallas Mavericks as a team that could contend for a Western Conference berth next year if they're healthy. You know, and I think a team like that, you can't really fit any of these young players in, you know, but you have to also think about life after Kyrie Irving, life after Anthony Davis. I think your front court is set, Lively, Gafford, PJ Washington, AD, so you won't go forward here. And AD is still 29, 30 years old. PJ's still like 26, 27. Lively's in his prime. He's not even in his prime. He's younger. Daniel Gafford, I believe, is like in his prime. So you have a front court that's honestly young as hell. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the guards. I'm looking at Kyrie, looking at Jaden Hardy, somebody who hasn't really panned out as much as you wanted to. I'm looking at Klay Thompson, 34, turning 35 years old. You know, I'm looking at a person in Quentin Grimes who they traded, and he's having his best stretch of his life with Philly at the moment. So I'm thinking Liam McNeely is the pick right here. He comes in and he instantly gives you shooting, you know, much needed shooting. He also gives you size. As a matter of fact, he can learn right up behind Klay Thompson, probably the same size, 6'6", 6'7". You know, Liam has become a lot better on the glass for UConn. You know, his positional defense isn't terrible. He doesn't really put the ball on the floor too much, but I like this guy as a floor spacer. John, you're right. He plays the right way. He 100% does play the right way. And I think Liam McNeely is going to be a good NBA player from day one, and I think that's what they need.
I agree. I think it's a really good pick. It's weird because he's been such an up and down shooter this year. I'm not sure. I mean, he's at like 33% from three this year.
Oh my God,
So
Cleveland should lose. Holy shit.
wait, Cleveland's losing?
They're down 1, 31 seconds left.
How's Paolo doing?
He just hit a clutch shot, and then DeAndre Hunter just airballed. So,
Oh. Paolo's 5 for 20 this game, man.
I lied.
Oh
I just saw this one clutch shot, so I thought he was playing good. Yeah, 5 for 20 is nuts. No more.
Keep shooting. Yeah, I think it's a good pick at 13, though. Dallas, by the way, I think I was telling John last week, Riv, I think if they get the number 1 pick, there's going to be so many rigged trade theories.
Yeah.
On the Luka AD trade.
Get Luka back. First overall pick.
Yeah, they can really use a player like Luka Doncic.
They really could.
But too soon.
If Dallas gets Cooper Flag, everybody's going to believe that trade was rigged. We'll give you Cooper Flag if you give us Luka. That's going to be the draft is rigged theory continuation. So let's stay tuned for that. I kind of want to see it happen.
I don't think it's rigged.
But I don't think so.
Max, it's all right. He'll get it back. I don't think it's rigged because of the reports that their first 2 calls are Milwaukee and Minnesota, which are 2 of the smaller markets. The first call is Lakers. I'll be with you. But that's what gives me the reason to believe the Mavericks are generally that dumb. Now last, with the 14th overall pick, got the Atlanta Hawks by way of a trade, which came from Sacramento.
Is this my pick?
Yep.
Okay. So this is interesting. There's 2 players I have in my mind, and I'm going to take Asa Noel here. I think the more energetic, high-energy, athletic bigs you put around Trey, the better. Clint Capella's getting older. Onyeka Okongwu's ascending a little bit, but he's kind of who he is, and he's not physically reliable. Just getting a guy like Noel. The other guy I was thinking about was Ishangu from France. I really like him. And I just went Noel because I really like the idea of having that lengthy, highly athletic wing next to Jalen Johnson and Versace and Trey. I just think they can play a style of basketball that really meshes well. So I just think that felt like the right pick to me.
I like that a lot. Now, we're going to recap this.
Wait, would you take Asa knowing? So you think Clinton's gone? Clint Capella, which he should be, by the way.
Eventually, he's like 33. I mean,
yeah,
he's been on the trade block perpetually since like 2021.
Yeah. The only guy who's been on the block longer was like Miles Turner before last year. Yeah. It was always Miles Turner every deadline.
We should make a all-trade deadline team.
Ooh, I like that. That's future show episode. Future series for the show, definitely. But okay, let's recap this thing.
Riv.
Hold on. I got to get this tweet off. This Cleveland tweet. Just give me one. I got to get this tweet off.
What's the tweet? Right. Read it out loud.
So Cleveland lost a tough one, choked it, and here comes the people who have been waiting for them to fold to say this is why they won't make it to the finals.
Orlando, man. I almost wore a Orlando Magic shirt today on the show. Then I reminded myself that, probably going to lose, and they're down by 15 on Paulo in France.
I just think it's funny how, like, people are just like, there's no excitement for a team that kind of came out the woodworks and is about to win 60-plus games. Like, it's just more about, they're not going to make the finals. They're going to choke it. Like, it's not just let's appreciate the fact that they're literally going to win 65 games. They've had, like, 3 different 15-win streaks. Like, that shit is just crazy.
Yeah. It's because they play in Cleveland, but it's my favorite team to watch.
Yeah, like, we getting some parity. Like, did we want Boston to just walk away and have no competition? Like, we should be rooting for them. Like, come on, Cleveland, beat Boston.
We aren't rooting for them? We aren't? I'm hella rooting for them.
It's lit. People be hating. But yeah, shout out to Orlando. It's a big win. They needed it.
Yeah.
Desperately. Here we go. I'm ready.
It's your pick.
Graph up, man. John.
I texted in the chat, boss.
Oh, there we go. My fault. All right, there we go. With the first pick in the objectively biased 2025 pre-March Madness mock draft, the Utah Jazz will be selecting Cooper Flag.
With the second overall pick, the Washington Wizards will take Dylan Harper.
With the third overall pick, the Charlotte Hornets will select VJ Edgecombe.
And with the fourth overall pick, the New Orleans Pelicans will be taking my brother in Christ, Jeremiah Fears.
That pick really surprised me. With the fifth overall pick, the Brooklyn Nets bet on Ace Bailey's upside.
With the sixth overall pick, the Philadelphia 76ers select Colin Murray Boyles.
With the seventh pick, the Toronto Raptors take, I apologize in advance, Kaman Malik. I hope I said it right.
It's your pick, John.
It is. I forgot. We had to switch a reel. With the eighth overall pick, the Portland Trailblazers select Con Knuppel.
With the ninth overall pick, the Chicago Bulls select future star Jace Richardson.
With the 10th overall pick, the Spurs take a walking bucket and Trey Johnson.
With the 11th overall pick, the Miami Heat take my favorite name in the draft, Kasparis Yakushionis.
With the 12th overall pick, the Houston Rockets double down on 48 minutes of bully ball by selecting Derek Queen.
And with the 13th pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks bring in their Clay clone, Liam McNeely.
And last but not least, with the 14th overall pick, the Atlanta Hawks will take Asa Newell. They keep the Georgia guy. All right, that was part one of the show. Part one of the show. 1 hour in, we're going to transition talking about the landscape of the Western Conference, because outside of Oklahoma City, things are getting really interesting right now. So, hey, Riv, I'll start with you. What is your opinion on the Western Conference landscape? Who is the biggest threat outside of the Thunder?
This is kind of where I was telling you, Wilder, about my hot take. First of all, I want to give OKC credit. I want to say they've had an amazing season, an elite season. They're up there with Cleveland in terms of just having a great season. SGA is the MVP for me. He's been the MVP for me for the last 3 months. He's having a spectacular season just with the way he can score the ball. Excuse me. I think OKC's defense is the reason why they're the best team in the league. Their defense is tenacious. Any five on the floor creates havoc. Their ability to get turnovers and not cause turnovers on the offensive end, I think that's really important. They really value how many possessions are in a game, and they really value their possessions. And the fact that they just defensively know where to be at and they're always in sync, I think that's really important. I think there's a few teams that can really give OKC some hell to. Like it's all a matchup game in the West. I think matchups are really important. And I think OKC, they have two centers, but they don't want to play bully ball. I think defensively they do. I think offensively that's not their calling card. And they still don't have enough playmaking chops on their team for me offensively. I think you can call some ruts with them with, giving them a couple zones, making it hard, sending doubles, sending two at the ball at SGA. But teams that can give them some fight, man. I look at a team like Minnesota as a team that has played them really well, that has defensive guys 1 through 5, that kind of play that similar style on the defensive end, real tough, real gritty, up in your face, real physical. And Minnesota may not have a ton of offense that OKC has shown all year, but they can really cause havoc in defensive games. And I think if it's a defensive game and you look at OKC, you look at Minnesota, that's a game. That's a series that could go 6-7 games just because if it's all defense, that's what Minnesota wants to do. You're playing into Minnesota's hands if you are playing that defensive, gritty type of game. But OKC, it's weird because they don't have the consistent shooting for me. And I think in a playoff series, Minnesota is very reliant on what is Julius Randle going to be. And I think that's going to be kind of the X factor in what Julius Randle you're going to get to kind of match up with OKC. But I look at teams that play small. Golden State really gave OKC some fits prior to Jimmy Butler. So I think they can give him some fits again. Playing small ball has been Golden State's calling card all year. Their whole dynasty. If you play small ball, that's what they want to do. And I think OKC, more than not, is probably going to go small ball in a lot of stretches. I think Golden State can give them some tough matchups. I would have said the Lakers, but their front court still worries me in a playoff series versus OKC. Denver, I think OKC can wash them just because of the fact that defensively they don't really have anything that they can provide. I think Memphis is a bad matchup. I think they can wash Memphis too.
Yeah.
I think they can beat Houston also. So I'm looking at Golden State. I'm looking at Minnesota just for OKC specifically as two teams matchup-wise that can really – I would have said the Clippers too, but I don't think they would give you enough offense. I think Golden State can. I think Minnesota's a better defense than the Clippers. So I'm looking at Golden State and Minnesota as those two teams I think that can cause some real trouble for OKC in the first round. I still would pick OKC, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 6-7 and we could see an upset.
Right. Part of what makes the Thunder such a compelling favor in the Western Conference is that almost none of their peers have the perimeter defense to defend Shea, which, surprise, he's leading the league in scoring. He's having a historic season. He's the MVP. You look at the Grizzlies, when they traded Marcus Smart, they lost that. The Nuggets don't have it. The Rockets do, but we all feel like they're young and don't have quite enough in the half court. The Lakers, they have DFS and Vando. That's about it. The Warriors have Draymond, but you're not going to put Draymond on Shea. So you're looking at Kuminga and Moses Moody. So it leads to the team that Riv mentioned, Minnesota, which is currently the 7th seed, and they would not face the way that it's currently structured until the conference finals of the T-Wolves get past the Clippers.
Unless they choke that playing game.
Of course, the seeding can flip a little bit. When I look at the Western Conference, the team which poses the biggest challenge for Oklahoma City to me, I'm going to have to go with the Golden State Warriors. I look at Jimmy, I look at Dre, and I look at Steph. I don't know if you put Jimmy on Shea in that matchup, but I do believe that they have enough experience and chemistry on the offensive end to be that best of both worlds. You have the offense and you have the defense, which are both clicking at an elite level, and you have yourself that established coaching. I know that their depth is a bit questionable because a lot of young guys who we haven't seen in this type of setting, but when I look at them and the Lakers, I love Luka. We saw what he did last year versus the Thunder. They won in 6. But this Laker team is not constructed as well as last year's Mavericks team, where you had Derek Lively coming off the bench, but Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. The Lakers, to me, I feel like still need to make 1 or 2 more moves, and they got to get LeBron back right. Whereas the Warriors really are playing their best ball, and I believe they can get past the Nuggets in the first round. So if these two teams play to me, I believe that Steph, with those 2 complementary stars, would be the best bet to dethroning not only the Thunder, but the Celtics as well. Because we know when it comes to Boston in the playoffs, they're kryptonite and Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry.
The 2 biggest threats in the Western Conference outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder right now are the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The 6 and 7 seed in the Western Conference are the 2 biggest threats, which is uncommon in the NBA at this point of the season to be the case. And both have had very interesting given circumstances. But I agree with both of you. I mean, starting with the Warriors, their biggest counterpunch to Oklahoma City is their experience. They are more experienced. They are smarter. You have Butler, Draymond, and Steph. That intelligence, that experience could be a big threat to a team like Oklahoma City, especially because Golden State, now that we've seen ascensions from guys like Quentin Post, and like now you have guys like Kuminga on the bench, and you can go to Moody, you can go to Gary Payton. They have a lot of guys who can play 10 deep like Oklahoma City can.
Yeah. And
if Butler can take that Shea assignment with Draymond, I mean, I think that experience could be very threatening. And then I think Minnesota, here's the fact that people I think are missing with Minnesota. Their offense has been their biggest weapon since January. They're a top 5 offense, and they're a top 5 3-point shooting team, both in efficiency and volume. So Minnesota, with the way they're playing right now, with Julius Randle kind of taking more of a Sabonis type role than he was trying to be kind of a Carmelo Anthony wanted to be to start the season, that's been a big difference. And Jaden McDaniels, we have a 35-game sample size of him now being a 16-8 guy, shooting over 50% from the floor and 3 stocks a game. This might be who Jaden McDaniels is. Minnesota can also play 9 deep because they have Jalen Clark, who is playing lockdown defense. And Minnesota, Oklahoma City, they have to deal with Minnesota's physicality, their depth. Minnesota has more guys they can throw at Shea than probably anybody in the West, between his cousin, between Jaden, between Jalen Clark, who's given Shea trouble the last 3 games. Minnesota obviously had the famous 25-point comeback. So I think those are definitely the 2 biggest threats to Oklahoma City. But I think from a more macro perspective, I think those are the 2 biggest threats in the West outside of Oklahoma City right now.
Riv, in theory, right, Warriors play the Thunder in the second round, or actually to the conference finals with the way it's currently shaped, who is the player that you start off as signed on Shea?
You definitely probably start Moses Moody on.
Yeah.
You start Moses Moody. I mean, Gary Payton also, he's getting back to his 2022 self. And I think that's really, really important just because he's a scrappy defender. But yeah, I think Golden State only issue would be like they don't have a lot of guys like Minnesota in terms of throwing bodies at SGA. But I think in terms they have the smartest defensive player in the league, and that's Draymond Green. So if they have him, they'll be able to direct traffic and then Jimmy Butler, of course, is a really good help side defender. But yeah, it'll probably be Moody. And when GP gets in, it'll be GP, and then he'll see a lot of Jimmy Butler too, probably down the stretch. But Jimmy Butler's best attribute right now is his help side and the fact that he can scale up and play, bigger guys and stuff like that. So you can put him on a chat or, stuff like that, and he'll be fine. So it's tough because, like, SGA right now is on a different level where it's really going to be hard to stop you. And maybe Jimmy has to guard J-Dub in that series, which I think Jimmy would be good in that matchup.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I do think, like, the Lakers still have a chance if LeBron's healthy. Like, the Lakers are still a dangerous team because you have LeBron, you have Luka. Everybody's playing really well right now when they're healthy, like Austin Reeves, Jackson Hayes, DFS, Rui. Like, that's another team that I don't want to sleep on. It's just that front court come playoff time, we haven't seen it. Vando, he doesn't play much in the playoffs. Hayes, we haven't seen in the playoffs for an extended time. People forget this. Jackson Hayes was a lottery pick. Like, he was supposed to be this. Like, this was what kind of people have been waiting for Jackson Hayes. So he was very highly touted coming out of high school and going to Texas. So I'm excited. Like, I think everything is matchups. Like, I can see Golden State and Memphis losing in the first round. I can see them going to the WCF. It really is going to be a wild, wild west this year. Like, I really believe that.
It's the most unpredictable final stretch in the Western Conference we've seen in recent history because there are 8 legitimately just super good teams and one only great team, which is what I think is the most interesting part. I mean, I'm saying Golden State and Minnesota are probably the biggest threats with the way they're playing right now. I don't actually think they're beating Oklahoma City, though, because I just think with the way – I'll just say it like this. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having the second best guard season of the century behind 2016 Steph Curry right now. Let's just put into context how great this guy is. He just casually dropped 48 last night against Detroit. He's averaging nearly 40 a game this month, which obviously we saw the James Harden runs in 2018, 2019. He was the guy who kept doing that. But what really separates Shai from a guy like James Harden at that point or a Russell Westbrook with a triple-double season, and which is more comparable to Dwayne Wade back in the 2000s and Kobe, is how complete Shai is doing it. He's giving you the 33 points per game on 65 true shooting, probably the most productive scoring season in Thunder history behind Kevin Durant, but he's also third in the league in defensive rating, third best among players. He has nearly 3 stocks a game. And this Thunder team, 14 points better with Shai on the floor versus off. Shai is playing at a legitimately generational level at the most complete style we have seen from any guard in recent NBA history. And I think that guy, honestly, right now, I think the West runs through Shai right now. And with how complete this team is, I just think I'm not sure if anybody's stopping Shai and the Thunder this year.
John, thoughts? Because that really attacked your player, the Joker, and your team. Because he said the West runs through SGA. I haven't heard that. Usually when a guy wins a chip, it runs through him. But he just told me, like, it runs through SGA, man. So that felt to me like an attack on the Joker. I don't know. Maybe I could be an instigator, but that's what it felt like to me personally. I wouldn't take that level of disrespect.
Right. Yeah. Riv definitely is a D1 instigator. I know that for sure. But I would say that it says a lot more about the Nuggets' lack of support for the best player in the world. But right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having what James has listed out so clearly, one of the best guard seasons of all time. 33 points a game, leading the league. He's taking 21 shots a game and getting to 33, which leads him to 65% true shooting. That level of volume and efficiency is so rare. And when you really break it down, you're looking at someone who ranks in the top 94th percentile of mid-range, 51%. top 79th percentile at the rim, 72%. But it's the degree of difficulty in the shots that he's taking, but then the separation he gets in that space from 4 to 16 feet. And from 3-point land, 38%, it's the second highest of his career, too. The shot that he hit last night, I don't blame JB Bickerstaff he did completely crash out in the press conference. It was something I haven't seen before in a long time. But when you looked at, the officiating didn't necessarily do him a lot of favors by throwing Cade. But anyways, the way that Cade was breaking down players off the dribble and otherwise completely competent, quality defense and getting to a spot with such ease, it was demoralizing. If I'm Tim Hardaway Jr. and you do that to me, I don't know if I can step foot on NBA floor again. It was Wesley Matthews' level of disrespect, the way in which he was getting to his spots with ease, hitting ridiculous shots, the turnaround, one-legged three. It is one of the most impressive seasons, and it is probably some of the craziest offensive packages, and his overall game is a complete pleasure to watch.
What separates him from a guy who usually averages 33, though, is he's a net positive defender. I'm not saying he's all defensive first team, but Shea legitimately defends. He's not this explosive, point of attack defender like a prime MJ was, but he is so incredibly smart, and he's got the length, he's got the hands, and he is just having the most complete guard season in recent NBA history. I don't know how you can say it any other way. And the way I get it, this Thunder team is deep. They're very good. They're this good with the youngest team in the league, and they're 14 points better with him on the floor versus off the floor. That's ridiculous. Simply ridiculous. The level of consistency. I just think Shea, at this point, I'm just ready to have some crazy conversations about him after a deep playoff run. Let's just say the Thunder win the title this year. Let's just say they do. Mm-hmm. I think if he does that and he has a great playoff run, he has the temporary best player in the world label. I think that would be very simple for me because we just haven't seen this before, honestly. We just haven't recently.
We saw that Kawhi in 2019. Granted, his finals run was historic, so I wouldn't be against that because in any given one season, a single finals run can catapult you into that conversation. It was Giannis at a point. It was KD when KD didn't get out the second round. When he was up 2-0 against the Bucks in 2021, and they blew him out by 30+ in that Game 2 matchup, everybody on the Bucks bench was talking. Jeff, you get a podcast clip the other day talking about, goes, this is the best player in the world. We can't stop him. So on a year-in-year basis, I don't think that's crazy. But the wild thing that you just highlighted is that on this Thunder team, which is clearly the 1 seed in the Western Conference, they only have 2 players above the age of 26, Kenrich Williams and Alex Caruso. They came into the league later. For those 2 veterans to be the old men, the grandparents of this team, and yet they're this good, that's something we maybe haven't seen in my time watching the NBA.
He's simply, even you mentioned Kawhi Leonard in 2019. Kawhi wasn't doing this. Obviously, Shea has to get the playoff run to cement that. He has to have that playoff run to cement it. But in terms of just regular season dominance, this is the only year that compares to this for me recently is 2016 Steph. That's the only guy I would take over Shea right now because. What are you saying, Riff?
Are we forgetting James Harden's 35-9 season?
Yeah.
I'm still taking Shea right now on that. I
don't hate that. I just think when we talk about and I've seen it a lot, and I'm not saying you're not wrong or anything. We love to compare SGA's season to Steph's 2016 season, and I think that is the bull point. That's like comparing all-time players to MJ. That is the standard. That is for a guard, regular season. 2016 Steph is the mountain you're trying to reach to be one of those dudes. But I feel like people forget that 09 D Wade and the 06 Kobe, or was it 06? It was one of those years Kobe. The 2017, 2018, 2019, whichever year was James Harden.
2019, 36-8.
Yeah, 2019 James Harden, where these guys, James Harden specifically, was giving you the scoring plus the playmaking ability that SGA is not giving you, but SGA has the efficiency. So I think what adds on to his case is, Chet being in and out the lineup, Hartenstein being in and out the lineup, Caruso, no matter what lineup he's in with, it's positive, and that's because he's been able to carry such an offensive load. It reminds me of like his case more screams Harden to me because of like the fact that him and Harden had the ball so much. Like Steph had the ball, but Steph also played off ball a ton too because he's one of the best. But he's like Harden in a sense, but he had the ball so much. Any lineup works with him because he's just that dominant of a scorer.
My point, though, is Shea is doing it as a net positive defender. I think that's what makes the difference for me.
I can understand that.
Harden would literally just go camping on defense the moment he was done dribbling the ball for 23 seconds. Whereas Shea, he's not the lockdown guy. That's what they have like Dort and, Cason Wallace and Alice Caruso for. But Shea is legitimately involved. And like I said, he has the third lowest defensive rating individually in basketball right now. I don't care what lineup you're in. If you're that low and you play 34 minutes, you're a good defender. So he's so unbelievably complete. Steph Curry's offensive impact, I don't think we'll find anybody who compares to that in the near future for a long time. Even Shea's 33 on 65 true shooting, but just how well-rounded Shea is while giving that insane production. I think that's the separator. The closest guy to that, I think, is like 2008 Dwayne Wade, but I think Shea...
Yeah, 09.
08, 09.
Yeah. 08 got the Michael Beasley that year.
Yep, 08, 09, that season. Dwayne Wade, he averaged 30 that year. I think Shea's even better offensively this year than Wade was that year, even acknowledging the inflation of scoring today. So I just plus the Thunder, they're so young and they're this good. That just gives Wade or Shea bonus points.
And Shea is very well supported too. I didn't mean to cut you off, Ruth.
No, you're good. That's more his comp, I feel like, because of the defensive impact, like 09 D Wade, where obviously you have the inflation, but you get the offensive output while getting the defensive help side, defensive, because D Wade wasn't taking the best assignments, but he was in the lanes, help side. He was a great defender. So that's more SGA comp. Of course, the numbers for SGA are better, but where you're getting that high level offense and that high level defense.
D Wade in 2009 finished second MVP, 30 a game, but third in Defensive Player of the Year behind Prime, Dwight Howard, and LeBron.
Yep.
And that Heat team, it was Dwayne Wade and it was Mauro Chalmers, Michael Beasley off the bench, John Marion, and Jermaine O'Neal at the end of their careers. And he carried that team to 43 wins. The Thunder are at 55 wins right now, 19 more games to go. The Rockets in 2018-19 won 53 games. The Thunder have already surpassed that while missing one of their two bigs for the better half of the season, too. And Shea still was very well supported, having J-Dub, having a great bench. But like you guys highlighted, the combination of the team being so good and defensively him being a big plus, that gives him the leeway to, if you want to say it's better than prime James Harden, I'm not going to give you a crazy look. I can understand that.
I keep mentioning this because he does have a good supporting lineup. But the official number on this on-off rating is really important to me. It's a stat I've always valued because if you're playing a lot and there's a legitimate difference, that just shows your impact. Mm-hmm. The Thunder are 13.8 points better with Shea on the floor than off. 13.8. And he's playing how many minutes a game? He's near the top of the league. He's playing 30. What? Okay, sorry. He is playing this site's awful. Okay, let's just say he's playing a lot of minutes, all right? He's playing a lot of minutes, and he's playing, and his on-off rating is like that. So it's really impressive considering how good OKC is.
You guys forgot one more elite guard season, whichever year you want to make it. Same time as Dwayne Wade. 2008 Chris Paul or 2009 Chris Paul? 08 Chris Paul is going toe-to-toe with the Spurs in the middle of their dynasty. Kind of, not really, but he was putting up 22, 12, and 3. While saving Tyson Chandler's career, kind of bringing back David West. He was doing all of that, leading that team to 56 wins when they're an expansion team and a top-end lottery squad a few years before. So we talk about Dwayne Wade in 09, got to talk about Chris Paul in those 2 years as well.
Talk, John. Then they don't talk about 06, 05 Steve Nash, man. Like, I know
that's another one. He gets disrespected all the time.
He really does. John, he gets disrespected because he plays the right way, man.
Exactly.
His numbers don't pop off, but impact-wise, dude, he's 1-on-1s, man.
That's why I love Darius Garland, because he has that quality of probing around the lane the same way Steve Nash did, which made him an MVP. So there's a lot of guards that we're not mentioning that deserve a lot more love.
If
They
Steve Nash,
deserve love. Yeah.
if Steve Nash ramped it up, he was 22 and 15, man. I'm so serious. I'm not even trolling.
That's how great Shea is playing right now, though, because guards are that great, and I'm confident saying this is ahead of those guys. And that's not taking away how great those guys are. But Shea, I mean, if you do a 2018 NBA redraft, I'd take him number 1 over Luka. I mean, that's just where I'm at with where Shea is ascending right now. So it's insane draft,
that draft
right?
class. That class. Luka, Shea, Trey, Jaren Jackson. You can stop right there at the top 4, but there's another 10 to 14 quality starters.
We're doing a redraft on that soon. We have to.
Our last one was 2019, so it's our next one coming up.
Yep, and I think that's a good way to highlight that conversation. So let's move on to this series. Part 2 of who would you let – wait, sorry, I'm going to rephrase this. This is going to be part 2 of would you let this player date your sister? Riv, so this will be fun because we have 3 people now to talk about this. I'm going to start –
Did you add Anthony Edwards to the list?
Yeah, last week.
We had him last time. I didn't have to put much thought into that one.
Sick guy. No way. I cannot let that happen. No way. No way in hell. No, brother. Cannot.
That was a rhetorical question. Very rhetorical, but we just talked about this player. So player 1, Riv, I'll start with you. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes, I follow him on Instagram, so I know it. I know how he moves. I know how he operates. He seems like a just go to work guy, man. He seems like he just goes to work. He hits the gym. He comes home. He, cooks for his wife, or he, rubs her feet. He gives her good things. He gives her a kiss. He spends quality time. He has a dog. He just looks like a good family man. When you have a dog and you treat your dog right, that gives me good green flags. So I would love, and I get to meet SGA, and that'd be my brother-in-law. So I would love for SGA to date my sister.
I mean, this is easy. He just married his longtime girlfriend a month ago. I'm not thinking twice about it. Easily let him date my sister, but congratulations to Shea. He's a married man. He's an engaged man now. So
he's got the aura. He's got the loyalty, man. Shea's the whole package. So we're chilling there.
And he's Canadian. Canadians are nice, per sources.
Canadian people are the most friendly people, and I believe it.
Minnesota's basically Diet Canada, so we get a little Canadian once in a while. But next player, John, Jamal Murray.
Oh.
Canadian. John, he's Canadian, but
Canadian.
there is some past situation.
Yeah, are we disabling the Instagram account for this, or are we just letting that run?
Yeah, that may because what if that was my sister, man? I'd be devastated. That's all I'm gonna say. So I'd say no. I would not like Jamal Murray to date my sister as much as he's a Canadian guy. He's probably a really nice guy. Just doesn't have enough aura, man. I need aura, man.
I'm gonna tail behind Riv, and this is a tough one. I love Jamal Murray, but I'm not gonna. Actually, I take that back. With exception to that one moment in time, there's nothing that makes me say I wouldn't let him date my sister. So, yeah, I would until I maybe have more info, more data, take it all in David Fizdale style. But until then, I think, I'll let Jamal Murray date my sister.
Look, you know what? People make mistakes once in a while in life. Okay, we're transitioning to the next one. Trae Young.
Nah, I'm good. No offense to Trae Young. This is no offense to you, my brother. You are a phenomenal basketball player. You're not an appealing guy, man. I need my sister to be with one of them dudes. So I'd say no, Trae Young, you cannot date my sister.
Damn, Riv did ass is called Trae Young ugly. Here's what I'll say. Trae Young also married recently, and I believe a year and a half ago, had, and I think even more lately, had a child, at least one that I know of. Yeah, he's had multiple. Riv, I think you're really judgmental, and I'm going to say Trae Young can date my sister.
Wow, you're going to attack me to prop up Trae Young? I feel like that's betrayal. You don't even know him.
D1.
Okay, so
D1.
So John is looking at it in terms of who creates good families, and Riv's looking at it in terms of aura, it sounds like.
He's
Is
looking
that
at based
fair?
off looks and attraction entirely.
Who can give me a handsome nephew or niece?
Right.
Man? That's how I'm looking at it.
John's all about just, family stability. I respect that. We need a lot, right? So
need more of that.
we need more of that, right? Okay, so we did Jason Tatum last week, and I think that was an easy one.
Yes.
Easily. He's one of the first people I think.
See how he treats Deuce? Loves little Deuce. Yeah.
He's a first round pick for me. Yeah.
He's a lottery pick for sure.
Yeah.
How about Jaylen Brown?
Yes. Very smart, very educated. Although people do like to have this rumor that he acts educated. He's not really smart. I am on the side of I think he's very well educated, very smart. He knows how to speak. He seems like he's a man that takes care of his family. He loves to help the poor and the needy. I am of the poor and the needy, so Jaylen Brown, if you see this, I need help. But he loves to help out in charities. He's a good guy, handsome guy, has the total package, really good basketball player, great basketball player.
Finals MVP,
NBA champion. He has everything that you want. Yes, he can 100% date my sister.
Yeah, no brainer for both of Jays here. Definitely.
Honestly, like 90% of the Celtics are probably good. I mean, they all seem solid. That entire starting five. Is there one guy you're like, no?
Drew Holiday, I think he's married. His kids.
Yep.
His family guy.
Yeah, that's another easy one.
He took time off to take care of his wife when she had brain cancer.
He's
a
dude.
Exactly.
He's a real why do they keep winning, man? It's a team of just good dudes. It's just really good dudes, So, okay. Next player up, Karl Anthony Towns.
He's with Jordan. He's with Jordan Woods right now. First of all,
yes.
Let me start by saying this, Cat. You bagged an all-timer. You bagged an all-timer. She's all world. I just want to say that. She's all world. I would say, yeah. Shout out to Cat. Big jersey. Good guy, though. From the way he maneuvers, the way he acts. Good guy. He's there for the people he cares about. Has a real genuine heart. And he's corny. And I like corny because corny's funny.
Yeah.
So we can have some funny, corny-ass moments in the crib, Thanksgiving and all that. And Cat's a big dude. He might not fit in my kitchen, but nonetheless, yes, Cat, we're here.
Yeah, this is an easy one. I mean, he takes care of Jordan Brooks, too. I mean, to me, I think he's a great person. Someone that's going to take care of you and your family. To me, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
I think Karl Anthony Towns is probably the most husband material person I mentioned the first two. I'm just going to say that. He comes off as he's really smart, high family value guy. Mm-hmm. He works hard, good value. He can talk crap and be mean when he needs to once in a while, but he also seems like he can also watch Gossip Girl with his wife for a couple seasons too. He just, like a sister, come on, you can't just be a husband who just acts like all tough and masculine all the time. He's got that side to him, but he can also go and do fun stuff like bake cakes with her. You know what I mean? He just seems like a good dude in terms of that. So you know what, Karl Anthony Towns, you're the most husband material person I mentioned on this. And then last player, I got to think about this one. So, I think there's honestly, if we had before I come up with the last one, what percent from just a macro point of view you think you would say yes for among NBA players?
You got to think. No offense, you got to find the thugs, man. You got to look deep in the vault. I'd say most, 70%. Not the young players though. The young players are still living their lives. So
yeah,
you got to find the fathers, the good fathers.
I would say 60 to 70%.
Okay.
These are well off.
I'll say anybody that was in that hotel room that was on the Phoenix Suns team with that girl, no.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Anybody that was involved in that situation, no.
Do you have a timestamp on that team?
That was Ayton, Booker. That was a wild time.
Take note of that. Yeah, I would say more than half. I mean, it's also hard to say. Unless you have done some, or maybe Riv highlighted very well. Maybe you're not ready yet. So I'd say more than half.
And the final player I'll mention is Zion Williamson.
No, I'm good. Nope.
Yeah,
negative.
I'll pass.
I'll pass.
Love Zion. Amazing player.
I have no ill will. I'm good. Zion, stay away from my
Not
sister.
Any elaboration?
I think we're good.
He's a freak boy. That's all the I can give you. A freaky boy.
He's also
Okay.
24. He's young. He is young as hell. I think you'll
He's
forget.
younger than me.
He came in the NBA at like 18, turning 19. Might have been his birthday's in like July.
I think I'm
late
old.
summer. So he must have just turned 19 as a rookie. So yeah, he's 24 years old till July.
I am older than Zion. Wow.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end that series. Part 2 of Who Would You Rather Date Your Sister? And last part of the show, guys. Top 10 players under 25 to build around. Let's revisit that.
Let's do it.
Are you excited for this one?
Yeah. Do you have the list? I want to look at it.
From last time.
Yes.
I can read it off. In the meantime, let's talk about Cade Cunningham.
Are we collectively building a list? I feel like that's funner.
Yeah, we're making it collectively.
Yeah. I'm with that.
So we can all agree number one is because I saw Wilder put somebody over Wemby. It lost the fuck out of me.
I didn't.
No, you didn't. You did this recently. I think you were really excited. I think you put Ant-Man over Wemby.
I didn't. I said 1B.
Yeah, exactly. That's silly. Yes, I remember it now correctly. John, Wilder got caught being biased again. He said that Ant-Man and Wemby were 1A, 1B. Players, we called it again. No.
The best young athlete in the league and the best shooter outside of Steph in the league right now, man. I don't think that's crazy because here's the thing with Ant. He's physically reliable. And look, Wemby, like the blood clot is a freak situation, but he's still going to have to overcome the narrative of can he last over that long, you know? So
look at him trying to spin his way to this 1A, 1B stuff.
I still would lean Wemby. I didn't say I wouldn't. But I think I don't think it's like Wemby and in the third tier. I don't think it's that anymore. That's all I'm saying.
Wilder, you can't fool me, man. You may be able to fool other people. I know what 1A, 1B means. I know what it means.
I said they're neck and neck. That's all I said. It's like Wemby's here and Ant's right here. Like that's where I'm at right now.
What makes you say it's this close?
I just literally told you. I think Ant won. I think outside of Wemby and maybe Shea now with how great he is, I think Ant's got the highest ceiling among any non-prime player in the league right now. I think that's pretty easy to say because, one, the guy who was voted the best athlete in the league by NBA GMs last year is now suddenly the second best shooter in the league. And that is a dude who is proven in the playoffs, who hasn't missed games in his career. Outside of like any number one pick, outside of Tim Duncan, he's won the most at this stage of his career. And he did that. I know people be like, well, situation. It's still the second least successful franchise in North American sports.
Wait, didn't Tatum at this age?
He wasn't a number one pick.
Oh, right.
So I just think with the way Ant's risen in the playoffs, you combine the skill level with the athleticism and the fact there's still a lot of room to grow in his game. And he probably is going to be good through his mid-30s unless something crazy happens. I think that's why I was like, okay, Ant's pretty close.
Interesting. I just think like Wemby in year 2 already clears what everything we've seen from Ant-Man. So like Wemby in year like 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I don't think it's close. Like it's not even no slide.
I'll say
this. Ant.
People forget how young Anthony Edwards is too. I mean, outside of Cooper Flight, he's been like the youngest recent number one pick.
That's
so he's basically like he has a year. So yeah, he's in year 5, but he's the age of a year 4 player, and he's undisputedly a top 9 player in the league. And I think there's a lot of other gears in his game still, right? And he didn't come into the NBA with the same training a Luka or Wemby had. He came into the NBA not going to one of those premier schools training programs. He went to Georgia. So he came in as a number 1 pick, more raw than most number 1 overall picks. And at the rate he's polishing his game, there's still a lot of room to grow. I don't think he's a normal 23-year-old in terms of just stage of development.
Would you argue that Wemby is undisputably like a top 7 player right now, though?
He's top 7, top 8. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, it's really hard to say. Just get a list of players out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think depending on what Ant does in the playoffs, I don't think Wemby's undisputably better. He was having an amazing regular season with what he was doing defensively. But I mean, Ant's still giving you 27, 6, and 5 on 60 true shooting almost, and he's shooting 40% from 3.
Let me ask you this question because I think this is an interesting question. And I want you to put your bias aside. I want you to be fair to this player.
I can't do that.
Let me ask John. John, because I think you agree with me.
What's up?
If Ant-Man, I don't think Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man is like top 10, top 12. Like Wilder mentioned, we would have to like sit down and really look at the players and then like kind of go through it. But like off the top of my mind, like are we sure Ant-Man is undisputably better than Jalen Brunson?
Yes. Undisputedly,
he's better than Brunson.
Because to me,
he's
right
better
next
than Brunson.
Wilder, I said I'm asking John. I don't want to hear your opinion right now
because they're in the same exact tier, so they can't. One to me can't be undisputedly better than the other. Although, what Anthony Edwards gives me on the defensive end, as well as that prolific scoring that Brunson also offers, is why I would have Anthony Edwards ranked higher, and I do have him at number 8 or 7, 8, and I have Brunson around 9 or 10.
Yeah, I think they're in the same tier too.
Yep.
But here's like Wemby's amazing. I don't think he's just separated himself from those guys yet, especially not without a playoff appearance.
Because of his injury. So he hasn't been able to make it to the playoffs, so I would agree. But he's still, to me, I got Wemby in my top 10. I just want to see more of him before I make a bold claim because he's still really young.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm very much nitpicking because he's going to be one of the best players in the league, if not the best. But, the offensive efficiency could still get a little better for a guy 7'4" as well. So, I mean, I'm not saying like I'm taking Ant over Wemby, but I would say, considering there's always going to be questions about the longevity for Wemby, and also now year 2 he has a season-ending thing. It just it decreased the gap a little bit because I think even though Minnesota's had an up and down given circumstance this year, Edwards' shooting leap raises his ceiling long term. So, like I said, he could legitimately at one point in the league in his career be considered the best athlete and best shooter in the league. That's not a low ceiling combination, so
yeah. Best shooter. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Off the dome. He's probably the best pull-up shooter in the league. Yeah.
Shooting 52% on pull-ups this year, and he has like 710 attempts.
I like when it comes to like Ant-Man versus Brunson, I use Brunson because I think Brunson's like the barometer for like the 9 to 11, 12 range. Like he's kind of the guy that gets in there. I use him because I know we love like to talk about Ant-Man as a defender, but like he's really only a great defender on ball. Like
I agree.
Like for guards, I really value the offensive end more. And I think Brunson serves the ball in that end. Like he's passable. Like he's small, so you're gonna pick at him. But I think Brunson's offensive game, just from rim to 3-pointer, I think it's a little bit more complete at this point, just in terms because of his, his IQ, and he's a little bit much older. He understands angles and how to use his body and stuff. Like Ant's still trying to find that balance of the 3-ball, and plus the spacing on Minnesota is not the great, like as of late it has been. But you still got Rudy down there, and teams still don't fully respect Jaden's jump shot. So, and then Randall's out there. So
we're definitely nitpicking
the first
because and the playoffs has averaged 29-30 on incredible efficiency the last 2 playoff runs.
Yeah, you have to nitpick top 10 guys. It's unfortunate.
And also, like the first 2 months of the season for Minnesota on offense were rough. They just didn't know how to play with each other. But ever since January 1st, Ant's been over 30 points per game on over 60 true shooting. So
I'm gonna poll it. Jalen Brunson or Anthony Edwards.
And plus, unfortunately for Brunson, he just has a lower physical ceiling than Ant does in big moments. It's like Ant, yeah, sure, on a Tuesday against Charlotte isn't a great defender, but Ant in the playoffs has been a great defender at times.
Exactly.
Like he's a situation with
Anthony Edwards and try to get him on a switch onto your best player. It's someone you're trying to get off of your best player. Brunson, because of those physical advantages, is someone that teams are going to target to try to get him in foul trouble, to try to wear him down for the offensive side, having less energy. Now, back to our mock draft, or not our mock draft, our top 10 players to build around. We did this about 3 months ago in December. Then me trying to be uber productive, posted on Twitter a month later, not really revisiting the clip between the time.
Anything I helped you clip.
And the way that we ordered this list, I had the odd picks, James of the even. Number 1 is Victor Wembanyama. 2 is Anthony Edwards. 3, I took Paulo Banchero. 4s were things that got crazy. We took Jalen Williams. 5, Chet Holmgren. 6, LaMelo Ball. 7, Evan Mobley. 8, Franz Wagner. 9, Cade Cunningham. And 10, Scotty Barnes. And all as someone that co-signed this list, the list sucks. The list is bad. In our defense, this is a very important thing to note. I took Chet Holmgren and Evan Mobley over Cade Cunningham. Given Chet's durability questions, I would not do that now. And on top of that, for as great as Evan Mobley's been this year, Cade's been even better. I would have Cade above both of them. And we're redrafting or reorganizing this list. Cade at 9 was a mistake. And I'll admit, I had a hand in playing that. But at that point in time, Chet and Evan Mobley above him to me was more justifiable.
Why is LaMelo picked over Cade? That's the only one I'm thrown off about.
Well, at this point of the season, I mean, LaMelo was like averaging like 32 a game. Mm-hmm. And LaMelo Ball was already an all-star. And honestly, until Detroit figured it out, like he still had those first 2 years to lean on. So at this point in time, Cade Cunningham won like 60 games in his first 4 years. So 3 years.
Well, his second year, it doesn't count.
LaMelo genuinely had
He started his third year, it counted. He won 14 games.
LaMelo
NBA player starts on that team.
LaMelo had
14 games. They just added Beasley and a couple of the guys, like a way different team. They had Harris and Beasley. They got a way better coach.
They added
and a better coach.
But
14 at that point,
and Jay Ivey broke his fibula.
Let's not like act like Cade Cunningham had no reason to not be at that range. They won 14 games with him as their best player in his third year. Technically second year, if we want to make that mistake. Who gives a crap? 14 games. He started 3-29.
You're acting as if adding in an elite shooter and a serviceable shooter.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
that was
14 wins.
30
3-point
shooting.
That's dog shit. Dog shit.
I can tell it's not a good record.
Wait a minute.
I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it's right.
The worst. It's worse than the We gave the Magic flack for their roster construction. Their roster construction was way better than last year's Pistons team.
I agree, but 14 wins. I'm not saying it was the right take. What I'm saying, let's not act like it was a baseless, crazy, hated take at this time of it wasn't even Christmas yet. Like,
Wait a minute. So you're telling me, Wilder, Cade gets no grace for that dog shit situation, but you put LaMelo up because he averaged 30. He had a Bradley Beal season, basically, with a dog shit team. LaMelo got drafted, and they had quality players.
They won 43 games the second year at that point, too.
Name the roster. They were all better than everybody in Detroit now, outside of Cade.
Yeah, but we saw it with LaMelo. At that point with Cade, we didn't see it. And LaMelo is the exact same age as Cade.
We saw it.
Don't say we, John. You're with him.
No, I wasn't. Rip. I did not.
His best year was a 54 true shooting, 14-win season.
He was coming off a season-ending surgery.
Excuses. I'm not saying it's the right take. I'm not saying it's the wrong take. But let's not make it sound like there's blah, blah, blah. Dude, Karl Anthony Towns had really bad teams in Minnesota, and he was more productive than Cade at that stage, right? So I'm not saying it was the right take. Cade proved a lot of people wrong. He's way higher on this list. But let's not do this thing where it's like, what were you thinking? What base of reality did you rely on? I relied on a lot of reality base. So it's not the right take. But let's not you can make fun of the take, but let's not make it sound like there was no base for it.
Yeah.
So now Cade is higher because they're winning and he's putting up similar numbers.
Well, Cade Cunningham's playing like an all-NBA player this year, so no crap. Yeah, he deserves it.
Cade Cunningham played like an all-NBA player last year. His team was just
No, he didn't.
His team was just that bad. He was kind of being held back. This year he's not being.
You mean to tell Wilder? You mean to tell me the difference between
he still is, but like
is the legit difference between last year and this year is Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and JB Bickerstaff? That's what tilted you that much?
It made a big difference for him, man. It really did.
That just speaks more to how dog shit the situation is, that all they needed was 2 shooters. And Malik Beasley wasn't even a highly recruited free agent last year.
He signed him for a 1-year, $6 million.
I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong. But my problem is we're making it sound like there's no base for any purpose for why you would have Cade at that spot at that time. He proved himself this year. He proved his worth this year. He didn't prove his worth before. Mm-hmm. It's not. I'm being fair with Cade. I'm being fair with him.
I think you're being fair, but where I stand on this is that even now they don't have a second creator.
And so that's why he is way higher on this list this year.
He does everything. And last year, there were games where he would will them into a close game and a competitive game. And the team around him was so abysmal. I mean, when Isaiah Stewart's playing the next most minutes on the team and he wouldn't be on the rotation for some contenders, it really went to show just how kind of prehistoric and archaic their lineup was. And this year it's been a little bit more well organized. And even then, he is the same exact player to me. I believe his assist numbers have improved because their shooting has developed. And defensively, they've really kind of just elevated their group and they're having a really solid 500 level baseline. But I felt like looking at it then, where I maybe underestimated Cade was his ability to get to the rim because there's so much in the lane. There's so much congested. This year, he has been able to take over inside the arc. And that was something that coming into this year, I didn't expect to be as strong as it has been.
I'll say this.
Cade is going to be way higher on this list. He's going to be, and he deserves it.
I think, it's really just, I think it's a healthy medium between what me and Wilder is saying. You can look at it and say, well, he, number 1 pick, he should be able to elevate. And you also can look at the situation like, this is really like one of the worst situations in NBA history. So there's definitely a healthy medium. Do you expect more than 14 wins? I can understand where Wilder's coming from with that. Like, you expect more than 14 W's. Like 14 wins for a season is crazy. I definitely get that part. Where I'm at with the LaMelo thing, he's probably going to be higher anyways. But now are we going to, same thing with Cade, are we going to now enable LaMelo in these conversations because his team is just bad? Or are we going to evaluate him the same way?
I'm evaluating
Cade was still 9 on this list. Cade was still 9. I mean, it's still a high ranking.
I'm saying now we're probably gonna drop LaMelo in the list because now his team is terrible.
No,
high numbers.
It's not because of his team though.
He's not playing great.
But no, my thing is you had him high before. His team wasn't good. His team hasn't been good all year. But you had him high before. Now we're sitting here. He's been dealing with some nagging injuries. His team has been, it got worse. Is he going to drop, or are you going to still have the same confidence in him?
It's gone down a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it wavers. I mean, not significantly.
His habits are not great. The decision making, the shot selection, the efficiency has fell. It's fell since then because of that. 33% from the 3-point land at that volume is not good. And also, like you highlighted, he's missed 20 games. So he's going to fall, but it's not because the Hornets suck, which they do suck. It's a combination of the biggest questions with LaMelo, which kind of make him a harder player to really rank.
But I feel like those question marks were there all year. He was just hitting shots before. Now he's not.
When you're making
elevated
33% of your threes, it changes a pretty wide range of outcomes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's LaMelo. He takes 12.
I'm just trying to see where the thought process is. I want us to remain consistent. That's all. Let's get started though. Let's start off with number 1.
Like
1A, 1B shit. This is one
overall pick. We'll go in the inverse order. I got the first overall pick the last time. I don't want it again.
I'll go. Wemby. Wemby is number 1. Stamp it. Wemby is number 1. He is the unicorn. He is the generational. He probably is the one guy that has legit generational tag on it, and it actually makes sense. We've kind of dubbed a lot of guys generational. Zion, Ben Simmons. I don't remember before, but Zion, unfortunately, dealing with a ton of injuries. Ben Simmons dealt with bad back, and now he's who he is. You know, we've dealt with a lot, but I think Victor is really the guy since LeBron that really can make that generational tag stamp. Yeah. So Wemby's one.
I think that's right. I'll give John the second pick.
Really? Yeah. I'm going with your guy. The second overall pick, I will take a guy who I believe kind of gets underrated at times because his game translates so well to the biggest moments, and that's Anthony Edwards.
By the way, Wilder, I've started an uproar on Twitter. They are now arguing Jalen Brunson versus Ant-Man. So I've started. I've started an uproar. Yeah,
I love it. You're using the New York fan base to your advantage. I respect it. With the third overall pick, I'll take Cade Cunningham. Riv.
We're here. It took us a while. Well, we've officially made it back to the big stage, you know? I'll be honest. He's taking Chet, and he hasn't played 50 games. It's fucking ludicrous, John. Taking Chet over.
Not a huge Chet guy because of his talent, Riv.
I'm not saying taking Chet over Cade. I'm saying taking Chet over the fourth pick that I'm about to pick, who should be Evan fucking Mobley. That's who you should have picked the first time. The guy who actually plays. The guy who is stop. The guy who actually plays. The guy who is a monster on the defensive end. He's been a top 3 defensive player of the year candidate since damn near his rookie season, and his offense is trending in the right direction. I thought about Paolo, but I think his game is a little bit harder to build the team around because of his habits. I think his habits are I want to shoot this mid-range. I want to take tough shots. I want to be Carmelo Anthony. And I don't want that. I want the guy who can anchor a defense and now has the ability to take smaller players, now has the ability to hit the jumper, now can attack a pick and roll and not just a score, but also can make a lob to Jared Mobley or can hit a pass to the corner that he just wasn't doing last year. You know, a guy has gotten a little bit better with his hands. Like, he's just constantly improving. Evan Mobley, man, he's a dude, and he's going to be really special, and Cleveland got a good one. And Evan Mobley's my fourth pick, man. I've been super high on this behemoth of a man. So
what I will tell you is that Carmelo Anthony's ain't never averaged 5 assists a game like Paolo has, not once, but potentially twice this year as well. Now at the 5th overall pick,
5 assists. Woo! Has Paolo ever averaged 28 like Carmelo Anthony?
Yo, how's Cam Reddish going?
Look where you take it. Hey, wait, John. That was John Karchar talking. How about that? How's that?
See, I'm talking about a lottery pick that Riv liked. He's talking about an undrafted player who I thought was a good 3rd unit bench player, and he's actually still a good 3rd unit bench player for your information.
Process. Cam Reddish is no longer looked at as a lottery pick, brother. You have to adjust.
Well, you know what the Mavericks said? They said, we'll give you a 1st-round pick, and the Hawks like, yeah, you can have Luka. We want Cam Reddish and Trae Young. That's what they said. Now let's move on to the 5th overall pick, the 5th slot. I'm going with Paolo Banchero. I'm standing on business.
Are you?
I think that is still the right pick. And no, look, I think I still had on my list. So I made a list on this a couple days ago, and I still had Paolo 4 because I still believe in Paolo that much. Yeah. But, you know, Mobley 4, I have no problem with that. Mm-hmm. I think Riv is going to hate my number 6 pick.
Also, wait, Paulo's a big averaging 5 assists, but
John, I was trolling.
Worst spacing in the league. Yeah.
Worse than Cade's spacing, by the way, last year.
Yep. So be careful.
Did Cade have a Franz last year? The fuck not. He didn't even have a James Tubbs.
No. They're the worst 3-point shooting team since the 2012 Bobcats.
John.
The Pistons last year were not dead last in 3-point percentage or makes.
No, they were just dead last in ass players. They had a plethora of ass.
They wouldn't be dead last. They wouldn't be dead last in ass players. They'd be first in ass players.
You know what I mean? And their coach was a terrorist. He had Asar Thompson in the corner spotting up. Mm-hmm. That is terrorist activities. That is shit you can't make up, Wilder.
Riv, at least be consistent, man. If we're going to defend Cade for bad spacing, defend Paolo for bad spacing.
No.
Paolo averaged 27 in the playoffs the second year.
Consistently about how he's an inadequate and below average shooter, and I've told you he was above average. So now you're using that for
No.
Paolo's
You
defense.
guys are not being consistent at all. Cade and Boncaro have always been in the same tier for me in terms of young players ascending up. Evan Mobley has also been in that same tier. You guys are now putting Cade ahead of him because you've seen somewhat competent thinking from a Detroit Pistons team that hasn't thought in a decade. When in reality, if you watched Cade last year, which Wilder, it's okay if you did it. It was hard to watch. I'm not mad if you did not. You watched Cade last year. A lot of this shit he's doing this year, he did last year. The only difference is now they have one more shooter as opposed to none. Banchero's problems, I think, this year are not – they're because of the spacing also, but they're because of bad habits that he's had since he walked into the league. He's doing the shit he did in the playoffs. Now it's just the shots were going in the playoffs. I still think they're around the same, but Mobley's game has progressed. Has Banchero's game progressed? Not at an insane level. Mobley's game has progressed. That's why I would take Mobley over Banchero. And Mobley's floor, I think, in comparison to Cade and Banchero, is much safer than both of those guys. Because at worst, he's what? The second best defender in the world and a good offensive player. That's like top 30. So at Cade's worst, at Banchero's worst, we've seen how they've treated Banchero when he was on the slouch. We've seen how people talked about him. And at Cade's worst, people think he shouldn't, like, he's not that good. So that's why Mobley's a demon, bro. Don't disrespect me, John.
I don't have a huge problem. I don't have a huge problem with Mobley ahead. I'm just saying I think Paolo's still going to be nasty long term. So I'm just going to bet I'm betting on the ceiling. I think Paolo's upside is pretty ridiculous still. And I'm going to keep hoping on the upside.
Coming out the Cavs series, I expected Paolo to take a step forward, and he just didn't. And that's why I'm slightly favoring one or two players over him that didn't before.
And you brought up Franz. What's he shooting for the three-point line right now?
33%.
4% or higher.
He's at 30. Flat. John, you're fucking done, bro.
You're done.
You're done, bro. You're done, bro. You told me. No.
You told me that he has fronts. Why are we worrying about his spacing?
No. John. You told John. You're not gonna lie to these people. John, you told me, man to man, you was like, Franz can shoot the ball. I said, no, he can't. You was like, listen. You was like,
he can't.
No,
I thought he was better. He's not.
Yeah, he has yet to get back to that percentage that you love to milk out in a while. He's at 30% right now.
I haven't. You won't hear me milking it out for a long time because, as you just said, it's been 2 years since he shot league average. Since then, he shot 29% in the 2-year sample.
I admit that I was right.
So, it hasn't looked good for me since then. But what am I going to say?
All right.
Now with the 6th overall slots, that would be James.
Yep. I had a tough decision here, but this player is all the way back. I'm going Tyrese Halliburton 6.
He turned 25, I think.
He turned 25? He just turned 25.
You can check right now. I have it up. Don't worry.
Is he that old?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, shucks.
Yep.
That's too bad.
He unfortunately hit the threshold. You cannot pick him.
Yep.
He just turned. That sucks. Okay.
You almost had him.
Almost had him. All right, number 6, I'm going to go back to J-Dub. I'm going Jalen Williams here. And I'm still in on Jalen Williams, guys. His efficiency's taken a slight dip this year, but I still believe long term. I mean, he's still shooting 48% from the field and pretty solid true shooting. Not great, but solid. Not compared to last year. He was insanely efficient last year, but this year he's still shooting 57 true shootings. So slight step back, but I still believe long term he has a chance to be one of the most complete wings in basketball with that length, with that defensive playmaking and rim pressure long term upside. I think he still has like a legitimate top 15 player in there. So I'm just going to take him number 6 because when you have a wing who can do everything in the NBA today, I just think that's a good bet.
J-Dub over Franz.
That's valid.
I trust the shooting more.
And
I think I like the defense a little more from J-Dub as well.
I like it. I like his defense better.
That's fair.
John, I know you saw my take about J-Dub. Did you edit the videos? Mm-hmm. So I know you saw my take.
Yeah, I didn't edit that, but I saw it.
What's your thoughts?
So Basically, what you said that he hasn't taken a step forward this year, correct?
More along the lines, yeah. Like people had him as a like Wilder just said, top 15 ceiling. People last year were kind of hyping him up to be that guy.
But that crowd was baseless because he was a 22-year-old.
Yep.
And at that point in time, having a great season, but top 20 was a little bit extreme. If he was
more or less, I expected him to take a modest jump, and I don't think I think he's kind of around the same player he was.
More or less the same player. And I think that is pretty fair.
Yeah. So
the stocks and the assists slightly went up. So have his minutes. And I would say maybe as decision makers, improve the tad bit with more experience, but he is basically the same guy. And that's more than fine right now for Oklahoma City. They were a 5-win team with a lot of games left to play.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it was a fair take.
Thank you, John.
Don't think he's a riser.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that, John. Some people, they attack me, and John, you're a reasonable guy. So that's why I ask you questions.
He's an all-star in the West.
He was an all-star. Not deserved, but he was an all-star. So I got to give him credit. I think, was he the replacement, right?
Had to have been.
I think he got in.
No, he got in straight up.
I think he got in.
That's why I don't pay attention to it.
Alpert Şengün was a bigger problem than Jalen Williams getting in
Both of them fucking bums shouldn't have been on it, but that's not
over Sabonis is crazy. I've had some
Kyrie
before, but over him and Kyrie is wicked. Yeah,
Kyrie didn't get it.
Yeah, Sabonis should have been stamped. So
my pick. It's my pick. 6th pick, 7th pick. 6th pick. 7th. I contemplated taking Amen Thompson and shaking this shit up. I really did, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna take Chet here. I still think Chet has top 10 young player ceilings. I know he hasn't played a ton, but when he does play this year, you've seen how good he can be, how his versatility on the offensive end is as a scorer. How he can put the ball on the floor, that shooting stroke, and then defensively, I think he's really great. I don't think he's as good as Mobley on the defensive end, but I think offensively he probably has a tad more in terms of long-term potential because of the shooting form and the shooting he can provide. So I'll take Chet here. I still think he has a safe floor if he can stay on the floor.
Right. That's the biggest question because he has basically the perfect game for a modern big with his offensive bag. And defensively, he's right there in that group of all defensive caliber bigs. Second team, he can be there consistently. But if he's going to be missing 25 games a year, and even more in some instances, it really does make it harder to kind of put him in the top 5. Now, we're on the number 8 overall slots. And right here, I'm torn between 2 wings. One is a little bit more NBA ready, a lot more is kind of a ball of upside. And
can you tell us the 2? I hope you're not talking about Jalen Johnson.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Never mind. I'll be honest.
I would have threw up. No offense.
One's definitely in Toronto. Am I right?
No, I'm not thinking Scotty Barnes.
I would have threw up again.
I love Scotty.
Scotty Barnes is not really. Nope. Now you're gonna stop guessing. Yeah, if you keep guessing, you're gonna eventually get them.
We would hope he would have.
Is he one of the players you won't let date your sister?
No.
Wait, Zion's 24.
I love both of them date my sister.
Oh, Zion still can be
Zion.
Yeah, he's 24.
Zion's gonna be on this list, and I'll be very honest. This is top 10 players to build around, or just top 10 players? I thought it was top 10 players to build around.
Build around.
Yeah, because I would rather fire him. If I'm building a team and I actively choose Zion, I'm deciding to make it the most painful job of all time because you can't build a team around Zion. Sorry. You get Zion? Okay, now let's build a roster for when he doesn't play, which is 70% of the time. And unfortunately, for as wonderful a player he is when he's on the floor, I'm sorry. Sorry, Drew. I'm sorry, Zion fans, but you need to actually play to be built around. And it's a tough sell. His game is really built around a style which he can't sustain.
I'm telling Drew you're shit talking Zion.
Tell him this quote. Sorry, Drew. John. Now with I'm still on this 8th overall pick here. And it really makes it hard because Francis can't hit a shot this year. So I really want to take him over MN. And what I'm going to end up doing, yeah, fuck it. We're doing a little switcheroo. With the 8th overall pick, I'm taking Eamon Thompson.
You motherfucker. I was going to take him, but here we go. Yeah, we're here, John. Yeah. Let's do it. Over Franz?
Yep.
I agree, by the way. I'm just asking.
It was really hard because Franz, the game that he has offensively is going to explode once he has a real team around him. But just his individual shooting at 30% kind of is a slump that I believe Eamon can kind of cut that gap between them offensively while being all defensive wing. And Franz is a good quality wing defender, but Eamon has a ceiling on that end, which I believe not only cuts that gap, but it gives him a slight edge because of how much younger he is. And for him to be doing this in year 2 when he was a total project, I believe we need to start talking about him as someone who can be a lot better than what we expected originally.
Hey, Riv, what comp did I give about Eamon Thompson the other month?
Oh, my God, you gave it a good one. Ah, fuck. You gave a really good one. It was really good. Who the fuck was it? Who was it?
He has a last name that's really hard to spell.
Dude, what type of hint is that?
It's a very obvious hint. Giannis.
Oh, yeah, you did say Giannis. Yeah, you did say Giannis. I was geeking when you said Giannis. Yeah, dude, Eamon is special, man. They be sleeping.
Yeah, he's that guy. I'm all for that. Who has 9?
You do. I used to say some crazy shit like he should go 1. I thought he should go 1. That's how crazy I was over him.
Yeah, that is crazy. But he should go 2, I think, in a 2023 redraft. I think, even though Charlotte would be like the worst spot for him, but Charlotte would still take him, I think. And yeah, so with number 9, John, we're not letting him fall much further. We're going to keep Franz Wagner in the top 10 for the reasons you mentioned. Yep. I mean, in this group, you can make a legitimate case. He's the most gifted rim attacker. You can make that case because he is a special driver at that size, the creativity with his footwork, touch, timing, his strength, coordination. He's unreal. And I agree. If you give him a real team, he could average like 28 a game if you give him good spacing. So I think his ceiling is super high. It's just the jump shooting in the playoffs. Can that get back to a level we thought it could be from Michigan? I think it's still possible, but the shot base is shot. That's the problem right now. The shot base is shot. So that's going to be the next step for him, but he's still like an unbelievably gifted on-ball creator.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is where I shake shit up for real. This is the last pick. Yep, last pick is top 10 crying. The last
Jaden McDaniels? What?
The last pick in our top 10 players under 25 to build around. I am picking Cooper Flagg. That's who I'm picking, somebody who's not even in the NBA yet. And the reason why I'm picking Cooper Flagg, he is the next best thing on the block, is, like John mentioned, Zion Williamson, a headache to build around. Even some of these players we picked in chat, their ability, hard to stay on the floor. I look at players like Franz, like J-Dub. I like their games with primarily number 2s. You know, I'm thinking of young point guards like Tyrese Maxey. I think he more is the guy you bring in to fit around what you already have. I don't think you can build around him. Great player, though. Great player. I look at Scotty Barnes. Same thing. The guy you bring in to fit around your players. I'm blanking on the guys that just got here. Sarr, Castle. They're not really –
Brandon Miller.
Yeah, Brandon Miller. They're more foundation pieces to something you already built. I look at Cooper Flagg. He's a builder. He's the guy you bring in and you say, we build this building around him. We build the organization around him. He has the defensive tools, the versatility, the secondary creation. The guy can work well in the pick and roll. He has good handle. And like your boy, Wilder, Anthony Edwards, like Zion Williamson, he is so fucking young for his age. He's the best player in college, and he's barely 18. He's barely 18. He's not he's destroying grown men. So I'm excited about Cooper Flag. And I think even though he's not in the NBA right now, he's a guy I think he's going to walk in and he's already one of the players you want to build around.
I like that a lot, Riff. That was a clever spin. It reminded me of your segment the other day. Keep 3, cut 5. Last name, Jeremiah Smith.
Yes,
Love
sir. He's also another demon. I can't wait for that demon to get here.
All right.
I didn't even know we could take Flag. I didn't know we could take Flag, frankly. If I knew that, he would have been top 5.
Oh,
easily.
All right.
Oh, you taking out the top 5. Now he gets the
4. All right. That's.
I think he's going to be. Well, I just think he's going to be a franchise-changing number 1 pick.
Right.
I mean, I just what I believe. I think he's probably the second best number 1 pick in the last decade. I mean, I just think the floor is really high, and I think the ceiling's really high. I mean, I would take Cooper probably top 5, if not higher, if I knew he was eligible.
Yeah, while there. So I put the poll up, and the Knicks fan was like, "It's Brunson, but he doesn't jump high or look like MJ, so he won't win." Knicks fans are pissed, bro, because it's winning the poll by like a lot. The Knicks fans are the ones commenting like, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit."
Of course they did. But if they had Anthony Edwards, they would be like literally writing prayers under his name.
It's lit if Ant's in New York, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness, Karl Anthony Towns is like freaking adored in New York. And I love Cat, but for some reason nobody else did a year ago. If Cat can be loved like that.
The Knicks fan base turned on him pretty quickly after like 3 months, but
they're back. All right, let's recap this bad boy. So, I started off. These are our top 10 players under 25 to build around. I had the first pick. I had the first pick. First name up, I'm taking Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, that's me. With the second spot, I'm taking Anthony Edwards.
With the third overall pick, I'm taking my favorite young player. None of you believed in him, but I did. Cade Cunningham.
Number 4.
It's me. It's me.
Yep.
You should stop, John. You should really, really stop. With the 4th pick, I am taking that demon in Cleveland. Give me Evan Mobley.
Number 5, we're going with Paulo Banchero. They may leave, but I'm staying true to my guy, P5.
And number 6, I am taking one of my favorite young players in the league, Jalen Williams.
And number 7, I am going with that other demon in OKC. Give me Chet Holmgren.
Number 8, we're taking a swing on a player who's truly got the makings of bona fide All-NBA player. That's Amen Thompson.
And number 9, I'm going to take Austin Butler's doppelganger, Franz Wagner.
And with the wild card pick that I shook up, number 10, I am taking the Duke phenom, Cooper Flag.
I wish I knew we could take him. I would have taken him much higher.
Tell him what number you would have took him. Tell the world.
I would have taken him top 5.
Who'd you kicking out the top 5?
Paolo and probably Mobley.
Woo!
I just think Cooper. It's not disrespect. I say what I think. I think Cooper has it. I just do.
I do too.
I say what I think.
So I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Like prove me. If someone offered me
is
Cooper
a top
Flag,
25 player, and
great.
Paulo will be there. Just give Paulo. You give him Malik Beasley, he's there.
Cooper will be top 10.
Cooper will be top 10. No.
So I'm standing by what I'm saying.
We'll get there within 3 seasons.
Say 4. I'll give him 4. I think by age 22.
Let's go. Well, I say 3. Yes.
Age 22. I think Cooper's going to be in a very similar timeline to like an Ant.
I'll say this
in terms of
if Cooper goes to Brooklyn, they'll have him in the playoffs by year 2. End of year 3 season, we're talking about him like a top 10 player.
I want him in Brooklyn.
We're talking about that. Jordy Fernandez is a really good young coach.
Oh, yeah.
We got some. We overlook it with young teams. They just fire sale the entire squad. I disagree. When you have a guy like Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton, you keep the 2 of them intact. You get Cooper Flag to pair alongside him at the 4. I think Cam Thomas, they have the makings of a very fun young team and a couple of like really important complementary players to keep.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great fit. And also,
Aaron Sharp,
if
getting those offensive rebounds.
What was that, John?
Oh, it was like the clank off the rim that he got the offensive board.
do you guys think that the Nets have a Clippers-like curse, or do you think that Flake can overcome that?
No. I don't think they have a curse. I think Brooklyn is fine.
I had an argument with a friend last week, and he was like, I don't want Blake Griffin in the Clippers 2.0. And I was like, I think it would be different. I think it would be.
It would be 10 times different.
I would have flag 4 on this. Okay? Flag 4. And I'll keep saying flag because it's a bad habit. Not flag, right? Is that right?
Flag. You say flag. I think you have
I do think with his nickname, Capture the Flag.
Capture the Flag.
That nickname is so fire that you can say honestly whatever you want. That shit tough.
That shit sucks, dude.
Or no, I fucked up. I meant the main event.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit.
Oh man, I love Capture the Flag.
As a tanking term, there's tank for Tua, there's some other stuff that I'm blanking on, but Capture the Flag, taking me back to like Halo 3 days. I mean, that is.
I love the flag sweepstakes.
Capture the Flag is cool.
Capture the Flag is cooler.
It's okay.
You're
main
Halo
event's
3?
dope.
Yeah, I loved Halo 3. Never played the online stuff though. Always just did campaign.
Okay. Well,
but yeah. Also, I wonder how quickly Dylan Harper will get top 10 on this list, because I think he would. I think he will. He doesn't deserve it now, like I think Flag does, but I do think Dylan Harper in a couple years will pretty easily be somewhere in that top 10.
Yeah, dude, he's kicking Franz off this list, man. I'll be quite honest with you. He's kicking Franz off this list.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who would come off, but also Franz will be 25 by then, I'm sure anyway. So there's some of that too. But okay, guys, let's talk about. Wait, have we done the numbers like officially yet before we move on? Did we do? I just had like my mind has gone blank over the Cooper Flag argument, but did we already do with the first pick? Oh yeah, we did because I said the Austin Butler.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Yeah, we did that. Never mind. Okay, last topic of the day. This will be by far our quickest one. How many superstars are in the NBA, John?
Yeah, John, you tell us. How many superstars in the NBA?
So when I look at superstars, I think a cream of the crop all NBA players. And I always believe that there should be a tier and a frame of reference reserved for the players who have the case of being the best player in the world. Now, last week on Pick a Side, I was on Sunday night, and we were just chopping up shop, having a little bit of fun, horsing around a little bit. And then Dells asked a question. I told him, Jason Tatum, NBA champion, 5-time All-NBA player, is not a superstar. And in my mind, I don't think it's that strong of an opinion because Tatum to me is the 5th best player in the world, but I don't view him in the same crop of the top 4. Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, yes, Luka, and Shea. And at that moment in time, I realized that, and I will do a little bit of reflecting here. If there's a better frame, because I don't view JT in that top 4, if there's a better frame of reference to categorize that group, maybe you guys know one. But to me, that is the tier that I call superstars, the cream of the crop All-NBA players. A guy who, and you guys asked what my criteria was, and I think that's most important because I left out everybody else in the top 10. Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Victor, AD, the whole 9 yards. To me, a superstar in that group of players is a guy that almost no matter what you put around him, when they're out there on the floor, you're going to play at a 50-win pace, and they can win you a playoff series, even if you're going to throw some replacement level starters next to them. And I felt like in that moment, to me, a superstar may only be reserved for 4 guys. But I could also see the opinion where people think the entire top 10 maybe is what a superstar should be classified as in the same time.
So let me ask you a question, because if that is your criteria, how is SGA on it?
because he's having one of the 3 best guard seasons of the last 25 years.
But your criteria can't like that's why I feel like your superstar thing is too strict, because if it's can carry a team to 50 wins, I think that's fair. Win you a playoff series, they should have to be able to do it or shown that they've done it.
Yeah.
That's why I think you have Giannis in there, even though he's missed the last couple playoffs.
Yeah, there's some injuries, unfortunately.
And obviously the Joker.
Like, I think if Luka versus the Clippers getting them right there, or him getting to 48 wins with anyone, Dwight Powell, Reggie Bullock.
I think everybody that you mentioned has hit every point in your criteria except SGA. But
really?
I think, because he hasn't, to be fair to SGA, he's only played 2 playoff series. So he really hasn't, it's not because.
Last year's 2, he's played 4.
Yeah, it's not because, I'm saying 2 as the guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not because he can't do it. He just hasn't had the opportunity to do it, is more of what I'm saying. So that's why I think it should be, if you have a criteria, in my opinion, it's like 3 to 4 things to hit. I think you should really only be able to hit 2 or 3 to be able to be in that tier. Like, you can even have 2 separate tiers, because I think if you're the 5th best player in a league of like 200 plus players, you're not an all-star. You know what I'm saying? Like, all-star, I think, is subjective to
Tatum to me is obviously championship number 1. And so that would be it for me, an elite franchise player and a tier 1 championship player.
I think there has to be multiple routes to getting to the same destination. I think, number one, I think there's a slight distinction between superstar and megastar, because when I think megastar, I think about the icon aspect. So, like, if we're just doing megastars, I think Steph, LeBron and KD are the only megastars because they're icons. Superstar, I think that criteria can go a lot of ways. I do think if you're a best player on a championship team, you're a superstar. I think if you are a top 10-ish player and you're marketable, you're a superstar. I think if you're a top 10 player and you're not marketable and you haven't been the best player on a championship team, I don't think you're a superstar. But so, like, I think the marketing aspect has to have an impact, but you don't need to be marketable to be a superstar. For example, I don't think Jokic is like that marketable, right? No. In terms of compared to Steph or LeBron, but he's so freaking good, and he was the best player on a championship team, and he's an MVP. He's a superstar. I think Shea simply is playing like a superstar, and he's on the rise in terms of marketability. So, I think there's multiple ways to be a superstar, but I probably think there's, 6 to 8 superstars. And then I think megastar is when you kind of collide all of them together. Like, if you're a superstar and you're an icon and you're a champion, I think that's like the most exclusive tier. I don't even think superstar is the final destination. So that's how I see it.
I like that answer. I don't think you're wrong. I just think you're a little too strict. That's all. Just a little too strict with the superstar.
I know I am.
It's a little bit. And the 4 guys you have are firm. Like, they're all 4 superstars to me. And I think Tatum's a superstar. I think, like,
Wemby's
a superstar. I think Steph and Kevin Durant, LeBron, they're still superstars.
I like Mega.
Yeah, I think Mega's valid too, like, because they're the icons of the league and stuff like that. And they're like Steph and LeBron are still the most marketable players in the league. So, you're always going to have that effect. But yeah, number 1 on the championship team is tough, because I'm sure like a lot of guys can be, but like how many guys can be when the situation isn't too perfect, when the situation can break down and stuff like that. And like Wilder mentioned, everybody has a different path to the end goal, to the same end goal. So that path to superstar, SGA path is a lot different than Luka's path. Luka's path is different than Giannis's path. Giannis's path is different than Tatum. So it's really just it's a tough ad, but the league is so talented. I think you got it, because there can't be 4 superstars and 30 all-stars, because it's probably like 30 to 35 players.
That's the best counterpoint. Because it's like, how are you going to classify the 5th to 35th best players in the NBA as all lumped into the same tier, which I don't. I believe, like, once again, like James said, there's 2 tiers and 2 brackets. Like, the first tier, if you want to call it a megastar and say that, okay, this is semantics we're getting into at this point. It's a matter of language and what you determine and define something as. If you want to define the top 4 as something above superstar, right? And then 5 to 8 or 9 is superstar. I don't mind that, And I think that's where a lot of people listen. They're like, well, now you're contradicting yourself. My idea is that Tatum is among a group of 4 to 5 players in which he is the one that has shown I've won a championship as the best player on my team. Granted, when you look at that supporting cast, it is pretty much perfect. I mean, Horford and Porzingis together when Porzingis is healthy is a cheat code, and they have Derek White, Drew Holiday, Payne Pritchard off the bench. I mean, it's insane. But with that in mind, I believe he's the top end of that second tier, which is 5 to 10 with Brunson and Ant-Man. So it's a conversation we always come back to every couple of years, oftentimes based on whether we're trying to determine who the best player in the world is. And right now, it still feels like it's Jokic because of the run that he had and how consistent he's been in the regular season. But to me, I don't believe it's a matter of the semantics as much as it is. I believe Tatum is not in that same top 4, which is where this whole debate started last week. That being said, what Tatum needs to get there is an efficient playoff run. Last year in that Mavericks series, when I look at him in the finals versus the Warriors, those two matchups where it wasn't the Pacers defense and he's shooting below 40% from the field and he's doing everything else to be an impactful player. That is where I saw him in 2023. I'm like, he's on the path. I saw him in those recent playoff runs and I said, he's a slight bit below. If he has an efficient finals the way he didn't last year, I'm fine putting him in that group. And I think he deserved it at that point. But to me, it comes down to the scoring efficiency and consistency. And the shooting of the three-point shooting in the playoffs is what gives me a slight reservation putting him in that top 4.
Do you think that in terms of labeling players superstars or not superstars, do you think it has to be like a strict bubble of where you rank in the league? For example, could the 6th best player in the league be a superstar and the 5th best player not be?
Nah, that's a dynamic question.
It's a weird question, but does it have to be like players 1 to 4 or 1 to 6 are superstars and players 7 to 9 not? Or could the 7th best player be a superstar and the 4th best not be? You know where I'm getting at, right?
I'm like a tier 1, tier 2 guy. So like tier 1 guys are guys that have shown me that they could be a number 1 on a championship team where I've won it. And then the tier 2 guys are guys that I know have the ability to do it. So it's like, it's just really a mixed up top 10 list. But like I can't say the 8th best player in the world is not a superstar. He's an all-star along with the 28th best player in the world. It's kind of like, nah, brother, they're not even close to the same tier.
I think there's a lot of tiers. And some of them are factors outside of basketball. Because, like I said, I think the icons are megastars. It's almost like it doesn't matter what they do now. They're just going to be bigger than what you do on the floor right now, right? Sort of like, today we have all these musicians. We have like Adam Levine, but they're not Elvis, and Elvis isn't making music anymore, but he's a megastar, right? So there's a lot of ways to categorize it. For me, superstar, megastar, for me, marketing is really important. I think your name presence really matters as much as what you do on the floor. So, yeah, I think that does it for episode 19 of Objectively Biased. We thank you guys so much for listening, and I guess we'll see you next week.